we are expecting before the separation of the service model.
Gentlemen, can we talk about the light pictures we have of the 3
Entitled
there? They seem to be doing okay in the capsule. Can we make out who is sitting where? I mean, Commander Chief is supposed to sit in the middle, right?
ちょっとリア再起動してきますね。
What you see is that the whole spaceship is performing the orbit insertion from the orbit to the re-entry trajectory. We use the main engines.
今外れたとこだって。今取れたんだって。
2500 newtons.
今取れたってこれ。
So with this orbit maneuver, we will turn from the orbit to the re-entry trajectory. You can see also with the working of the main engines. Also, we can see the working of the attitude control engines to keep it stable.
あ、わあわあわあわあわあわあわあわあわあ。えい。
Itself. So it is a real condition.
So one thing to note is that the
firing
of the main engine is not to accelerate, but to decelerate the speed.
So
with this orbit insertion, we will reduce the carriage from
about 300, more than 300 kilometers to less than 100 kilometers high. So and this will form the re-entry trajectory, and with the help of the atmospheric track, it will finally go back to the Earth.
100 kilometers from the ground is where they prepare to re-enter the atmosphere.
Exactly,
right?
Because we will, as Yansheng has mentioned, we reduce the speed of the vehicle, and then its orbit will change. Generally speaking, the reducing of the altitude of the perigee. The perigee is less than 100 kilometers. So when it comes into the lowest point, so with the aerodynamic drag, it will continue to slow down.
So you can see the small, those arrows. That's a small, the firing of the small attitude control engines. So they're constantly adjusting the angle and the position of the capsule. So in addition to the main engine, that is also adjusting. The small engine is continuously adjusting the attitude and the orbit of the capsule. So that is the firing of the small capsule, small engines.
And you were saying earlier that the weather is really important, obviously, as well. So what do we know what the weather conditions are like currently?
Well, I think before the landing process starts, the weather has been prepared for the astronauts already. I think there are constant consultations among the experts, and also the instruments has told the whole crew that the landing site is okay and the window of opportunity is open for the landing process. So weather conditions are perfect at this moment for the astronauts to come back. As I mentioned, that they can also adjust the speed.
We will really see the impact of the weather once the parachutes have deployed, because that's when the wind really impacts where the capsule goes.
Great. We have heard from the Beijing Flight Control Center that the orbit maneuver is successfully completed. So now the vehicle is on its way home.
They're in a pretty snug space as well, isn't it? When we look at these pictures of the astronauts coming out of their capsules, I mean, it's not a big rocket in any way that you imagine. They're very snugly packed together there.
That's why a shorter flight time is so important, to keep them more comfortable.
Exactly.
Think about 9 hours compared to 26, 25 hours. That's such a relief for the astronauts. And they're holding out these manuals. Like, are they doing anything at this stage? Are they verifying data? What are they doing at this stage?
They are monitoring the status of the whole spacecraft. You know that there are instruments and some board in their cabin. So the space astronauts can monitor the status of the whole re-entry capsule. And also at this moment, we still have the communication link between the vehicle and the ground stations and the data relay satellite. So we can see the image, the videos sent from the vehicle to the ground station.
This view we're seeing here is presumably of where
this is the landing site. We can see the vehicles which belongs to the ground vehicles belongs to the rescue team.
And this is from one of the helicopters, obviously, that are, we have a team of helicopters.
Yes, we have 5 helicopters.
Some of them are medical, some of them are surveillance.
And communication, and
also
commander. commanding.
晚上好，晚上好，晚上好。
It's in Ejina banner of the Inner Mongolia.
But this site is chosen because it's not habitable. I mean, there's no civilians,
less populated.
Yes, less populated areas, and also it's closer to the
レスキューチームがもうね、このランディングポイント、着陸ポイントにいるみたいですね。
So you can see the movement of the vehicle is because
電ファン
the
ランディン
final
グサイドンファン
let's say its final adjustment of the capsule has completed. So there's a new prediction of the landing site, a precise landing site. So the movement is, these vehicles are moving towards that landing site according to the prediction.
晚上好，晚上好，晚上好。
What about the ground conditions as well? Does that make much of a
今日は
difference in terms of
先祖
if they're landing in the past?
13
We've seen images of
の
these capsules
着
landing
陸
in the sea.
中継を
And
見て
here
おり
we've
ます。
China's chosen a ground to land on.
何これ、かっこいい。
Yes,
こんな感じなん
I
だ。
think the landing site is
ここは着陸場なんですね。
sea landing. This is more, you can more accessible with vehicles and helicopters.
Yes.
But if you go to the ocean, that is quite vast. Even though it's relatively safe, but it's still search and rescue can be a challenge.
With landing or splashdown on the sea, we will need a very huge rescue fleet. So that will cost more money than landing on the earth. And also, as Yansong has mentioned, landing on the ground will be more safe. But that also is challenge. That's the ground will be more tough than the sea. So we, as we have already discussed, we need a retro rocket. Finally, just 1 meter.
They lost control of the capsule.
So that is the
まだまだ
difference. And in the
ま
future,
だまだ
that
ま
is
だ
very interesting. The
ま
next
だ
generation
まだ映像
of
来て
China's
ます
spaceship
よ。
will use
そ
the
のうち
airbags
カプセル
like
包まれて
airbags
ブラックアウトペリオドに入れますね。
to impact energy. Yes. So
車いっぱいじゃんこれ。違う？
we know that
The
although
airbags would deploy around the outside of the
ヘリも飛んでるね。
yes, just after the parachute is deployed, so the after jettisoning of the heating shield, we will deploy the flame the airbags, and also it
That's
can.
next generation technology. Why does it sound very readily available?
ごまさん。
Just we
ごめんな
performed the
さい
first test
この
in
服でさ
2020 during the
出てくるの
major
初めて
flight
かも
of
しれ
Long
な
March
い
5B missions. The major payload of Long March 5B, the first mission is the test vehicle of the new generation spaceship of China. We believe that this spaceship is prepared for the future potential human missions to the moon. And also for the crew transportation to the China space station, it can take 6 to 7 astronauts. So it is a more powerful spaceship than the Shenzhou spaceship. But you know that we already discussed comparing with the
シェンジョンスペースシップって言うんだね。そのシェンジョンスペースシップ13号は
maybe they don't have choice but to drop onto the sea.
長子 2F かなで打ち上げられて、で打ち上げたのが10月の
If last time was any indication with Shenzhou 12,
16
our
だっ
rescue
た
and retrieving team
か
did
な
a fantastic job. I remember
だ
the
から
chopper was
本
right
当
on
に
top
ずっと
of the
半年間も
capsule pretty much
いたことになり
as
ま
it
すね。
landed. So it was there within
最
minutes,
長
and
記
then
録
the
らし
ground
いけ
team
ど
was there within
すごいよ
minutes
ね。
as well. A very fast
3
process
人が
based on
3
this
人打ち上がって
real-time
3人ずっと
forecast that we should
半
be able
年
to
間宇宙
hear.
にいて、
They
で
will
そ の
have-
後
they will
3人
have
とも
a
帰って
couple
きま
rounds
す
of the forecast, each time adjusting to with better accuracy, I should say.
I think we're expecting them within the hour, possibly, to land.
調整服で動き回るのは初めてかもしれない。わかんないけ
I
ど
believe our colleague from the Mandarin
We
channel.
also have to try out the new roles so that we can have
半
a
年長いねって言ったよ
much
ね。
better idea about the
ずっ
whole
と宇宙に
area.
3人でいる
We
の
can
も
have
す
a
ごいよ
greater
ね。
picture. So wherever the
ISS とは違う場所ですからね。チャイニーズスペースステーションですから、もう中国独自の宇宙ステーションがあるというのもすごいことですよね。どんどん打ち上げてすぐ宇宙ステーション完成しちゃったのもびっくりした。
Our rescuers, they have the certificate for diving. Actually, this has
ほら。
astonished me. I don't
太
know
鼓ノートって
whether
いうの
you need a diving
太鼓ノート
certificate
っていうの
for you to walk in
初めて知
the
った。
desert
今
because
太
that
鼓ノー
would
トっ
be
て
a
書いてなかった
possibility of the scenario. If there's an emergency
太
when
鼓
there's
ノー
a
ト
touchdown taking place in the water area, then of course our
太鼓ノ
rescuers
ートっ
can
ていうの
go into the waters to rescue
それ
our
は知らない
taikonauts. Of course, we sincerely hope that that extreme scenario will not take place and waiting for further orders.
Yeah, our colleague there traveling with the ground team as they make their way to the possible touchdown point. We don't have the exact location yet because that's subject to change. We're going to hear forecasts of a possible landing site, but that's constantly changing. But they're making our way to the proximity of what is predicted to be the landing spot in this vast Gobi Desert there.
下面通报返回舱第一次落点预报，落点经度东经1动动度动6分18秒，东经1动动度
And we're hearing a
动6分
projection now on
まだカメラつながってますね。
ground team.
4度
Yes.
36分。
地上局チーム
The
と
ground commander
Very
are
precise.
Commander と
broadcasting the coordinate of
3人とも
the
ちゃんと
predicted
座ってる。
landing
なんか
points. You know that we have
マニュアル読んでますね。
multiple data resources. One is from the telemetry data from the re-entry capsule itself. We have the satellite navigation signals and also with inertial measurement units to measure the trajectory of the vehicle itself. And also we have the ground stations along its trajectory to get the measurements from the readers and also telescope. So based on multiple data resources, we can have a very precise prediction of its the landing point.
Exactly.
We should also emphasize that we have control on the vehicle because we choose a semi-ballistic or a semi-lift return. So there are aerodynamic lift on the re-entry capsule, and with the attitude control system, we can change the direction of the lift forces. So we can adjust the trajectory of the vehicle, and this time we use a closed methodology to take the vehicle more closer to the theoretical landing point.
3人が聞かせて今無人になるのかなって。そうだね。
The
無
commander
人で
just
すね。
announced the prediction first for the first time. During the whole
無人だとどう持たすんだろう。そうだね。あ、太鼓ノートって書いてる書いてる。ほら、太鼓ノート。3 太鼓ノート入る。Home after record breaking. 6 months mission and China's space station. Turn one.
So the prediction is very, very important. We also talked about
レコードブレイキングって書いてるから、やっぱり長期滞在 6ヶ月は一番長いんだって。でも太鼓ノートは初めて知ったな。でも太鼓ノートって言うんですか？太鼓って何？中国で宇宙のこと太鼓って言うの？
There's a final moment. There's a final moment of no return. Is the separation of the capsule with the propulsion module.
Okay.
So the propulsion module has a
コスモノート、アストロノートみたいな感じで太鼓ノートっていう単語があるってこと？
and electronic electricities and everything. So
じゃあジャパニーズの宇宙飛行士さんは宇宙ノート？
return capsule. The return capsule is a passive package.
宇宙ノートよくない宇宙ノート。
Go back to
宇宙ノート。
the appropriate angle. So
ウ
there's
ミン
a
チュっぽいな。宇宙
not a
宇宙。
steep angle, but it's an inclined angle so that can slow down
Universe
the
in
capsule
Chinese
by the
is
atmosphere.
太鼓。
So there's a
Taiko.
blackout at 100 kilometers all the way to 60 kilometers.
のスペー
5
スノー
minutes
ト
of。
太鼓、
slowdown
太
by
鼓、
atmosphere.
太鼓、
That is
太
the friction of the
太
atmosphere with the
Thai.
capsule itself that created 2000
Thai.
Sustaining degrees of heat.
へ
That
ー
heat and also
チャイニーズだったら太鼓だから太鼓プラスノートがついて太鼓ノートなんだね。すごい。アストロノートはさ、アストロ、アメリカじゃない？アストロとノートでしょ？で、コスモノートはさ、ロシアでしょ？コスモとノートでしょ？じゃあやっぱ宇宙飛行士日本人だったら宇宙ノートでよくない？
So we're talking about minutes for the
That'll
capsules
happen
come
before
back.
the blackout.
Yeah, that will be before the blackout, and also the blackout. When the blackout happens, you cannot
It's not
receive
the
signal from the
good
capsule,
though.
but you
な
can
んでなんでなんで
Monitor
Why?
observe.
Why?
the high temperature, the friction of the atmosphere with the
発
capsule
音は太
itself.
鼓。
That created the
Taikon.
high temperature.
Taikon.
That is at
なるほどね。
plasma level. So that plasma reflects any signal
It
from
sounds
coming back to
like
Earth. But you can
Taikon.
still see the capsule
Taikon.
by radar.
Taikon.
Yes. That's how we
Taikon.
monitor it. And I was just loving that angle of the 3 taikonauts there in the cabin.
太鼓の音って言った言った太鼓の音って言った
Yewon-fu is at the bottom to the right, and then in the middle is the
Yes, the commander is
mission
always in the
commander
middle.
in the
Wang Yao
middle,
being at the very
then
far
Wang Yao
end.
being in the very far end corner.
What Jiansong has mentioned, the separation is also will be the next critical step, and it will happen at the altitude about 145 kilometers above the Earth. So after this separation, also it is very important that the separation happened. The two vehicles, the direction is perpendicular to the trajectory to avoid the collision between the debris of the propulsion module and the re-entry capsule. Because you know that we don't have other heating protection measures on the propulsion module because it is jettisoned and no longer be used. So it will be broken and have a lot of debris. So we must avoid the collision. And also you see that during the tracking of the Shenzhou space, you may notice that there were very bright and big point, which is the re-entry capsule, and there will be multiple trails of the debris, that is the debris of the propulsion module. So when touchdown, when come into the atmosphere at about 90 to 100 kilometers high, we'll begin what we call we have already discussed the blackout area.
That's the mission commander speaking
Yeah,
there, saying
from
that the
the crew from the commander, Mr. Zhai Zhigang.
Reporting.
saying the spacecraft is operating normally, everything is fine.
Yeah.
But if you make a comparison with the capsule of the Shenzhou to the space shuttle, the Shenzhou capsule model is relatively safe in comparison because it's a simpler design and also can be robust, and re-entry can be very safe if you have a good parachute, and of course we have also backup parachute. So all the process can be relatively safe in comparison with the more complex space shuttle and many other re-entry.
晚上好，晚上好。
obviously when these
大家好。
after such a long stay in space, they're going to experience a lot of physical yeah, exactly, and physical ailments really. So when do astronauts report feeling this? Is this the moment that they step onto Earth, or will it happen as soon as they kind of enter Earth's atmosphere?
Well, after the
どれぐらい時間かかるんだろうね。まあ、雑談でもしてましょう。Take notes, say conditions in capsule are normal だって。Take notes, say conditions in capsule are normal. カプセル内部の環境、コンディションは大丈夫。いつも通りノーマルアナルです。ノミナルです。通常状態です。異常はありません。という意味らしいですね。あ、そういえば今日も多分。これ消すわ。はい、ごめん、ちょっとリバーブかかってましたね。
At this case, the maximum of the G-force can reach to 8 to 10. So the astronauts must be trained before their flight missions to adapt these so big G-forces. Usually they will stay in the training facilities, and the peak of the G-force can reach to more than 8.
中国語では右行員対空人。なるほどね。なるほどね。
commander and the pilot should have the
対空人で対抗能とね。なるほどね。宇宙人。
to get some operations during this very difficult, very tough basis.
エイリアンはなんて言うんだろう。エイリアンは。
Dizzy, for example, right? This is when they
Alien.
get to space, and also when they return to Earth.
エイリアン in
And this
Chinese
is。something
What?
that
あ、なんて言うん
they
だろ
would
う
feel
ね。
once they touch
宇宙
down
人
and
と
once
宇宙
they
飛行士
can
が
step
紛
onto
らわ
the
しいものだっ
No,
て。
they have missed the gravity for 6 months. So as soon as the
宇宙の
blackout
音
starts, they will
宇
feel
宙
the
の音って
gravity.
言いたい。
Because the parachute is is being dragged by the atmosphere, so they are re-entering the speed, the Earth by a deceleration process.
And so this stage we're looking at right now, they're relatively comfortable.
They're still in microgravity
Yeah,
environment.
seated
Yes.
in the cabin there. Can we talk about their baggage there? I mean, we talked about how in preparation of this return, they tidied up the space station, they packed up,
外
and
星
they're
人
bringing back a bunch
外
of
星
stuff.
人
We're talking about
外星
experiment
人
data. We're talking about samples possibly. What are they
外
taking back with them
星人
on this trip home?
外星
Well, I think they're
人
taking back a lot of scientific experiments samples you mentioned. Also, some of but the biggest package you saw probably is not the experiment itself. It's some rescue raft or some other things. So it's not things that you see from the surface, because they're not taking a substantial amount of things back to Earth. They're taking also only the essential part, probably only the data. And also the return of the capsule is for the sake of the 3 astronauts. That's the main priority. So the astronauts' safety is the biggest concern. So they're returning with parachutes, backup parachutes, raft, and all safety precautions. So all of those are primary goals.
Understood.
And the others are maybe some scientific samples that they brought back from station.
As Yanson has already mentioned, we not only should prepare for the normal return, but also should be prepared for the emergency cases. So we have some food, water, and even we have gun, have a pistol in the return entry capsule. Because in some abnormal cases, we maybe landed in the forest. Maybe we landed on the sea. So even there are beasts. So they must, the astronauts has capability to survive before the rescue team arrived. So that is very important. You see that this time we have a faster return. And the fast return is not only more comfortable for the astronaut, because you know that the volume of our space station is about 50 cubic meters, so that's very comfortable. But the Shenzhou spaceship, even including the orbital module, the total volume of the Shenzhou spaceship is about 7 cubic meters, very narrow place and very not very comfortable. So we should shorten their stay in the capsule as short as possible. And also, we've already discussed about the samples. For some samples, for instance, such as the blood, and also other research results for the biological research and medical research, usually we need a very low temperature to store these samples. So a faster return can also bring more chances for the ground teams to get the samples as soon as possible and keep it in a very good storage condition.
Yeah, we understand the separation from the propulsion module has happened, or will be happening anytime now.
Just now we see the videos from the inside the capsule. That means that we still have the communication link between the vehicle and the ground stations or the data relay satellite, so we can transfer the videos from the re-entry capsule. But after the separation, the main device for the data relay satellite will be jettisoned together with the propulsion module.
So what would you say is the most nerve-wracking time then for ground control and also for the crew coming back? Would it be this blackout?
I say the parachutes. Because
or we can see, we can still hear that Yaping is talking.
So we still have communication with them now.
Did you hear what she was saying? I didn't.
No, I couldn't make it out what she said.
长程报告推返分离。
Great.
All right, the separation of the propulsion module has now
Separation
happened,
とか言ってますね。
meaning that the return
Separation?
capsule is closer to the Earth's atmosphere.
So what we have already
地球の大気に
mentioned,
近づいています
the
って言ってる。
critical separation has been
推返
accomplished.
分離。
Yes, 2
Just confirm that.
tasks down.
So that happened, I think, 145 kilometers above the Earth and above the areas of Africa. So that we're coming back from Africa all the way through India and Pakistan, and then all the way to Inner Mongolia.
Through Xinjiang.
Through Xinjiang. So that is the trajectory itself. So this is happening above African area. So that we're starting the descent by the capsule itself. So it's the point of no return at this moment.
So Zhongshi, you think the parachutes is probably the most nerve-wracking time?
I've heard some engineers at the big ground control team who say that for them, that's the point where they can really breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that, okay, chances are that they're going to come home just fine, they're going to land safely.
I would agree with Zhongshi, but also there's a blackout that is also nerve-wracking. But after
That's
blackout,
what, 4 to 6
ブラックアウト
minutes?
ですとか言ってますね。
Yes,
ア
yeah,
フター
roughly
ブラックアウ
that
トとか言ってるから、まあブラックアウトなのかな
But parachute deployment also has a great affection to the astronaut itself, because the astronaut will feel it. So they're traveling at 180 or 200 meters per second, And then at the moment of parachute deployment, that is descending the speed very rapidly. So they'll feel about 3 or 4 Gs of gravity.
Yes. Mr. Yang Liwei, the first astronaut of China, has mentioned that during the deployment of the main chute, he feels a very, very intensive impact of the deployment of the main parachute.
Yeah, we can only imagine that jolt you feel when the parachute is trying to slow you down from very high speed.
So the announcement of Kashgan ground station have captured the capsule itself. So that means it's observable from Xinjiang, Uyghur Autonomous
Oh,
Region.
that's great to know.
Knocking down the target.
Oh, great. The commander mentioned the Kashi station. Kashi station is the most west ground station of China in Xinjiang Autonomous Region. So, which means that the whole spacecraft is already very close to our own territory.
It's right on
So we
target.
can seal it from China now.
But at this moment, we know that because of the propulsion magic is already separated, so we don't have the large antenna for the data relay satellite.
And what becomes of the propulsion module now? It's just space junk?
Disintegrate and burn up from the atmosphere.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it won't leave
Following
anything.
the capsule itself, as Professor Yang mentioned, you will see from infrared images a capsule returning, and also followed by a bunch of debris that is part of the.
So we won't have to worry about debris of any kind, right? Hitting anybody.
We ensure the safety by what we have already called the attitude control. During the separation, one object,
座号注意，
for
我是
instance,
北京。下面通报返回舱第2次落点预报。
okay, the second
落点
prediction.
经度东经1动动度动6分18
Yeah,
秒。
they're announcing the
东经
coordinates of
1
the
动动
second
度动
projection
6
of
分
where
18秒。
the capsule
なんて言って
will
るか全然わかん
land.
ないや。
4度36分25
So
秒。
this will be more precise compared to
読
the
み上げ
first
てま
one.
すね。
Each one with more accuracy, so the retrieving team can make their way there.
Earlier, I think they said another site has spotted the re-entry
見
capsule.
えるのかな
capsule
これ
coming
って
in.
カプセルとか。
Oh, is it Pakistan? I think that we have a ground station in Pakistan as well. So
Yes, in Karachi.
In Karachi, and also in Kashgan. So we saw both.
华
Yes.
山
We also have ground stations in Namibia, in
ナミビアのグランドステー
and
ショ
also
ンではあっ
with
てたよね。
Karachi. So
ナミビア
along
の
the
グランドステ
trajectory
ー
of
ションがあるん
return,
だ。
we have multiple stations outside China and in China. So we have, as we have already mentioned, they can measure the trajectory of the vehicle.
I mean, it's not like they have a visual of the capsule with their naked eye, right? This has to be done with telescope and everything.
Yeah, with the radars and telescope, yes, and also infrared. Yes.
Okay.
So although we cannot have communication with the stranger spaceship, but we do have the tracking during the blackout with multiple readers.
So the capsule itself is descending rapidly from 145 kilometers. I think at this moment roughly 110 or 100 kilometers above the Earth, and it's about to enter the blackout at any moment.
So after separation, there also a very critical step is to adjust the attitude of the re-entry capsule, because before it touches the atmosphere, it must have what we call the attack angle, which means the cylindrical axis of the vehicle with this velocity. The angle should be about 1.5 degrees.
80跟踪结束。
Yeah, the blackout will be a tough period, not just because of the lack of communication between ground and the taikonauts. It will also be a more uncomfortable period for the astronauts. They're going to begin to feel gravity. They're going to feel the frictions of all that burning.
周りにね、炎みたいなのが包まれるから。ブラ
We
ッ
can
クアウ
see
トピリオドに
the
なる。
trail is generated by the
プラズマの
re-entry
に
capsule,
使わ
a very
包まれて
big spot. So
見え
this
な
is
くな
an
るってい
image
うか
maybe from the
通信できな
infrared
くなるらしいん
camera.
ですよね。これって今の映像
Tense moment. Oh,
Stop.
it takes 4 to 6 minutes, really.
We just heard from the commander that the tracking of the Kashi ground station has already been finished, which means that I believe that at this moment, the vehicle is already in Xinjiang Autonomous Region.
Left west of Xinjiang, so beyond their
To
observation.
the east of the
来た来た
Kashi
来た
station.
光ってる ぞ。
So we can see the long trail of the reentry capsule. The long trail is generated by the ablative material, which is vaporized by the high temperature caused by the friction with the atmosphere. And also, as Yan-Song has mentioned, the high temperature of the ablated material will form a ionized field, plasma shield, which can block the radio waves.
今言ってますね、プラズマシール
Are all
は
of
プ
these
ラズマが
infrared images?
プラズマが
Yeah, those are infrared images
宇宙船
from
を包
different
んで
stations.
見えなくな
I
ってい
think
る
they're
っていう感
relaying
じらし
this
い。
from
す
Xinjiang
ご
all the way to Inner
い
Mongolia.
すごいすごいす
So in
Along the
Gansu,
whole
yeah,
trajectory, we have multiple stations.
they have stations in Gansu.
大気圏
so
突入
they're
のとこですね。
observing
う
this from
わ
that.
ー、やばー。
We
めっ
won't
ちゃ
be able to hear the
面白い
Taikonauts in
め
this
っちゃ
period
面
of
白
time,
い
but right after they come out of it, they should be able to report their status, whether they're doing fine. We hope to hear that catchphrase many times today
I feel
as
fine.
they go through this process. I
Fingers
feel
crossed.
fine.
Yes.
When the velocity of the vehicle has reduced to several hundred meters per second, the temperature will drop down and will no longer form any ionized plasma. So at this
めっちゃ面
moment, the
白いよ。
communication between the vehicle can be recovered. Also, as I have mentioned, we have inertial measurement units inside the vehicle, and we also have the navigation satellite devices. So with these measurements, we can also get the data of the position and the velocity of the reentry capsule, together with data from the derived from the readers and optical telescopes. We can have the another prediction.
红光跟踪结束。
So there's a traction of different ground stations that
Yes.
they're announcing their end of the tracking because
Right.
the capsule is descending, so the horizon is a bit lower. So they're
Right, so they'll start
beyond the
losing view
horizon.
of it.
So the astronauts on board, they're feeling vibrations at this moment, and also they can look out of the window and see red flames out of the window.
So once they're out of the blackout zone, that's about 40 kilometers from Earth, right?
山海
And
跟
then
踪
from
结
that
束。
point to when they land, we can expect that in just a matter of
Matter of minutes, yes. Because there is a deployment of parachute, and that will take some time
やばめっちゃ面白いんだ
for
け
the
ど
capsule to descend from 10 kilometers to zero.
青山发现目标。
These are
Another
announcements of
observation
different
site
ground
there.
stations.
すごい
We
す
just
ご
heard
い
from the voice that Shuangcheng and Jinshan
なん
has
あと
captured
ドンファナに
the
さあり
trajectory
が
of
と
the
う
vehicle. Shuangcheng and Jinshan are very close to the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center,
Come
which
on,
means
Ning
that the vehicle
prediction.
is already
Masho ne?
very
Arigatou.
close to the landing zone.
That's good
Jinshan
news
is,
to
I
hear.
think, is in Shanxi.
Chinese stream?
Gansu province, yes.
チャイニーズストリームどこにある
青山回收1号双补完成。
Recovery 1 has already get the link. Recovery 1 is a very special reader which can monitor the trajectory even in the blackout area.
どれどれどれ
It's
ど
been
れ
a couple of minutes now since they entered the blackout zone, right?
Yes.
We've got a few more minutes to go.
Finishing any moment, yes.
So it's very already close to the point for the deployment of the parachutes.
I don't know about you, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm feeling pretty nervous here.
So even after the blackout, there's a free fall for about 30 kilometers. Before the deployment
For the
parachutes.
parachute is about 10 kilometers above there, yes.
And then does anything need to happen to the parachutes once they touch down? Because if the parachute continues to be open, would that not cause a drag or
な
anything?
んか
like
ね
that?
今ねチャイニーズストリームに変えた方がいいよって言われた
We
Tip over,
Up
yeah.
end to the-
yeah.
We
どれ
must
どれ
cut
どれどれ
down the parachutes after we land
変えてもいい
because
けど
the wind can
変
drag
えてもいい
the
けどね
parachute
okay.
and it may cause
So it
some dangerous.
detaches
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the
yeah.
capsule.
Yeah.
Now, who does the detaching? How does the detaching happen?
It's automatic.
It's automatic.
Yeah.
Okay.
By pyrotechnics, some explosive.
We
What
can
will be the indication
Explosives.
of coming out of the blackout zone?
CCTV ライ
What will be the
ブ
indication? Will there be
we will recover
visuals?
the communication link after after coming out of the blackout area.
So, Professor Yang, you debunked this myth for me
帰ってきたね
earlier on.
すごいめっちゃ見える
But, yeah,
パラ
you
シュ
know,
ート
we
開
always-
くとことか見えそ
At
うめっ
least
ち
I
ゃ
thought I had, I was hearing stories like this or hearing this and seeing this in the movies about astronauts fainting during some of this takeoff and landing process, but this doesn't
Not very true. They are well trained for the conditions they will faces they will feel during mission. You know that not only the G-force they will experience, but also very intensive violation because vibration. Because you know that the aerodynamic forces not only produce the G forces, but also the vibration is very intensive. So they will be trained on the ground to simulate these conditions, and they will in good condition during the re-entry.
Makes sense that they stay conscious
and
stay in touch.
But for the people maybe who have not been trained for these kind of conditions, maybe they will faint.
That's true.
Yeah.
But the people, the human body can
全然高度出てないしな。
kind of separate.
ソユーズと同じなのかな。
Uh,
これってドローグシュート出てるってこと？中でブルンってなってる。
4G of G load, 4 times of the G load. But they have been trained for.
あ、ドローグ出てますね。ドローグシュート出てますね。ドローグシュートです。そしてパラシュート展開きた。いけいけいけいけ。
The drogue chute has already been deployed.
ドローグシュートをポイされて、
Yeah, to reduce the
Parachute
impact of
ですね。
astronauts, they have to reduce the speed step by step. So there's a
このパラシュー
complete
トだ。
deployment of parachute, and then there's a complete deployment of parachute. So they're taking their time so that the astronaut won't feel so much drag.
Well, it's so exciting. We've already heard the voice of Mr. Zhai Zhigang, the commander. So that means the communication link has already been recovered.
メインパラシュート展開したおめでとう。さあこのままふわふわ帰ってくるだけですね。
red and white, making it easier.
If you can see the parachute, this rescue team should be very close now. So we can observe
And
this.
it's a massive one, something like 1,200
square meters.
square meters.
1個なんですね。ね、1個だね。
The parachute itself.
いやー、綺麗じゃないですか、めっちゃ。
Square,
Yes, that's how big
course.
it is.
腰动度动6分
But that's the main parachute. So there
Yeah,
are
the
Yes,
main
that's the
parachute.
main
The
parachute.
total area of the main parachute is about 1,200
開い
square
た
meters. Very, very big.
北纬410度
And how many
300
other
分
ones can
度
we
1秒
expect?
北京
And main parachute open to further
We can hear from the commander that he announced the third prediction of the landing point. Again.
Decelerate speed.
Now, of course,
スピードを落とすためにメインパラシュートを開いたって感じかな。
the
ポ
ground,
ーズ
it's safe to say that the third forecast will even be more accurate.
めっちゃ綺麗だね。
At this moment, the measurement of the wind speed will be very important for the prediction of the landing point.
AT フィールド。
So
こ
they
こまで
must
来れば
now
一
be
安
what,
心
30
だね。
kilometers from
パ
Earth?
ラシュート開くかどうかドキドキだもんね。
Less than 10.
Less than 10 now. Wow.
1個しかないんだね。
So
それ
about
に
at
して
about
も。
6 kilometers
他
high,
に
they
なんか
will
さ、
jettison
カプ
the
セル
heating
と
shield
か2、3個ついてるようなイ
and
メー
then
ジあるよ
emitting
ね。
all the propellants because we use hydrogen as the propellant for the attitude
めっ
control
ちゃ
of
綺
the land
麗。
At any time now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it takes about 10 minutes for the vehicle to touch down after the deployment
Oh,
of the
すごい。
parachute. And after the deployment of the main parachute,
これ
the
着陸
speed
場の
will be
あれ
reduced
かな
to less than 10
着陸
meters
地
per
点か
second.
な
That view we're seeing now, that's presumably a graph of
Ikyo,
where they'll be
Ikyo.
landing. Little image.
This process is
タイプがあり
just
ますが。
incredible to look at how
3個
multiple
タイプ？
systems, multiple teams
3
and
個のやつ見
departments
たことある
work
の？4個
together
のやつを
to
見たことある
pinpoint
し。
where exactly the touchdown will
めっ
happen.
ちゃ綺麗じゃな
They
いこれ
will
1個。
make their way there almost immediately.
あともう少しでタッチダウンです。
This point is very close to the launch site, to the Jiuqian Satellite Launch Center. You know that 3 years before, during my first visit to the Jiuqian Satellite Launch Center, it is my first time during my life to see the Milky Way.
ミルキー
So
ウ
you
ェ
can see
イ
how clear the sky near that point is. Very, very beautiful.
You can see the weather is in great condition, so there's no cloud and everything is
sky is
observable.
no
本当に
Yeah.
雲もないよね。
No
ノークラウドって言ってますけど。
No wind.
本当にクリアスカイ
This
で
is
す。クリアスカイ。
infrared
注
image.
意，我是北京，防热
Yeah,
大
it
地
doesn't
好。
look like it's
Okay,
like
the
wobbly.
heating shield is jettisoned
Okay,
according to the announcement of the
It's the
commander.
Beijing,
猛士，
Beijing crew, I think.
yeah, if you look at the parachute, it doesn't look like it's too windy. Otherwise, it would be, you know,
Dangling.
Blowing back and forth, right?
blowing back and forth, a little wobbling.
And after deployment of the parachute, we also have operation to change the direction of the ropes connected to the vehicle from inclined direction to the perpendicular direction. To
How does that happen? Automatically.
to change some connections on the ropes. Okay. So we will emit all the
見れるところら
propellants.
しいって言ってるのか。ありがとう。
And the next step will be the raising of the seats of the 3 astronauts.
Right. So sorry, so just remind us again in the audience and
ヒ
our
ート
viewers
シールドセ
what,
パレーション
why we need that
北京
seat.
明白。
シールドこれ
You
落っ
know
ことして大
that's
丈夫なの
because we touched down on the ground is a rigid surface, so
ヒートシール
to
ド
we
取れたけど
should
大
reduce
丈
the
夫だねこれ
impact. To the greatest extent, not only we use the retro rockets, but also we use the energy dumping mechanism of the seats. We raise the seats, and then
like
during
a
the
suspend-
touchdown, we can dump most of the energy.
Okay.
It's like a car suspension.
To give it more, right? To give it more.
すごいなすご
And we
い
won't
な
know
めちゃくちゃ綺麗だよね
the
Like,
capsule
海の生き
will
物
land,
見て
right?
る
The
みたい
last time Shenzhou 12, it was
癒される
sideways. It was
That's
sideways.
a normal.
That's
very normal.
Is that ideal?
That's
though?
very normal.
It's not ideal. Of course, the perpendicular attitude will be the most ideal. But what you mentioned is also very normal. This is because that's the centroid or the center of the mass of the capsule is have some deviation from the symmetrical axis of the vehicle.
So if it lands sideways, and the astronauts are sitting obviously upright, well, they're
ベー
lying
スからノーマルに
Well,
リビングがあっ
the
てもいい
moment
で
of
しょ
landing is always vertical. And that's
and
after
then-
the landing, it's tipped
Hi.
over or dragged
Yeah.
over by their parachutes or some other
but it's
factor.
entirely possible.
But it's
晚
always
上好
vertical.
大家
Then it's
好
entirely possible that once it's stationary, once it's landed, possibly tipped over stationary, that the astronauts are sitting in their seats but facing.
It could be, yeah.
They're suspended
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're
It's
facing
possible.
down.
Could be hanging over, yes.
A bit of a test of them to
何これ何これ
Propellants, the smoke you see there.
Because it's toxic.
トキシ何
So after deployment of the parachute, we do not need these propellants any longer. So we will emit these toxic propellants. And usually, in the
いらないから
rescue
捨て
team,
て
there
るの
will
か
also be one person to measure if there do have any
だって多分ね
existence of
弁当
this hydrazine.
下っぽいなんか
So
もう
if
パラ
the
シュートを
measurement
開いたからいりません
is
って
zero,
言
it
っ
will
て
be
て
safe for the rescue teams.
That happens minutes after the touchdown. There will be someone from the ground team to monitor substances.
トキシッ
in
ク
the
って言
water.
ったよね
they have
毒
a
性があるって言
very
ったってことか
procedure
な
to
多分
use a lead
言った
cover
トキシッ
to
クって聞こ
cover
えた
the gamma ray altimeter because it's
ロ
radioactive.
クッとあるってことかな多分 RCS か
They're
な
just
ちょっと
kilometers away now.
わかんないけど多分もう
Touchdown.
ちゃんとこれが開いたのでいらなくなったよっていうこ
If
と
you're
だと
just
思いま
tuning
す
in, we're watching the return
事故じゃな
of
け
the
ればいい
Shenzhou
あ事故ではない
13
事故では
crew
ない
from China's
そう
space
弁当です
station.
ねベンティング
A 3-person crew, they've been up there for 6 months.
推進台持ってましたねトキシック言ってただよねだよねトキシックって言ったよねだから毒性があるっ
In
てこと
many
でしょ
cases, the
やばいや
prediction is very so effective that even we
しれっ
can
とヒドラジウムみたいってことかな
capture the video of the touchdown moment by the helicopter
なるほど
or by the ground vehicles.
And we won't be able to meet the crew immediately after they land.
信
There's
号では
gonna
ないよ
be
ね
so
信
much
号ではないと思います
formality and procedure
もう
before
パ
that.
ラシュートが開いたから
They're
いりま
gonna
せ
be
んっていうふうに言
people
ってた
that
か
check
ら
on them. We talked about
多分
personnel checking for
それ前の
toxic
燃料と
substances
かを
in
落
the
としてたんじゃ
air.
ないかな
And
って
then
思う
it's
Checking
going to be a
if the-
while. It's going to be a while before we actually see
Yeah.
the three of them.
So we have a procedure called the gravity
逆噴射ではないよね逆噴
readaptation.
射とかでは
So
ない
it's
逆噴射
different
っていう
for
か
different peoples. For
方向
some
変え
people
るや
maybe
つ
it
の
only need
多
several
分
minutes. Maybe for
スラス
some
タ
people
の燃料でしょうか
only
ね
need more time for the readaptation of the
Do they do that inside the capsule or do they
inside the
readjust?
capital. Inside the
crew
capital.
have to- so-
有
Before
力な燃料燃料
going
排出
in,
そう
taking
そう
them
そう
out,
そうそう
they
そう
do
その
have
通り
this gravity readaptation
取り出すときに人が近いからやばいもの捨ておきたい
So when they
よね
feel
そうだね
comfortable,
そうだ
they can
ね
get out.
捨てておきたいっていうのは分かる
But
But that procedure is done with assistance of medics from.
yeah.
Right, okay.
すごい綺麗に横向きになってきましたね
The astronaut, the ground team belongs to the different systems, varying different colors of suits. So for the astronaut system, usually they are wearing the white uniforms. For the for
Search and
the
rescue?
Yes.
Or it's orange, yes.
Mr. Su, do you think there's much of a difference? Well, would there be a big difference? I'm sure there will be on for Wang Yaping and the other two, because male and female physiology is very different. So the 6 months impact would it be very different for her?
It's a valuable scientific data that we're going to be collecting. So once they're returning, the rehabilitations and the recovery process is also very important for future missions because we have to make sure that these astronauts are returning at the appropriate process, and also make sure that the future missions will take precautions with whatever issues that they encounter.
Because there's so many differences. I mean, males and females, like bone density, for example, would be different too. So
Bones, muscles, cardiovasculars, and many other, and psychological differences, and also.
But the female astronauts also have their advantages.
Right.
Usually, female astronauts is more powerful on understanding each other, and also are good at communication, and also more careful in operations. So it is very necessary to have female astronauts. I believe that during the operation of Chinese space station, we will have other female astronauts.
Yeah, to think that they wouldn't get along in that short space for 6 months,
that would be terrible.
But you know that with the help of the communication system, Yaping can have communication with her husband and with her kids very constantly, very frequently. They can call their family members directly.
That is crucial. That is crucial.
And also they can have very private communications. They have to have these kind of chances during their mission.
We also watched a few lectures live streamed from the space station.
Yep.
That was pretty interesting as well. So they had 2 live classrooms, I believe.
Completely different from environment on Earth. Yes.
I mean, should Wang Yaping decide she doesn't want to be an astronaut anymore, she'd be a great teacher. I mean, just look at the live space labs that she led and championed up there in space.
And she would
酔
need
い
two
そうだね
astronauts as
確かにめっ
assistants.
ちゃ揺れてるからね酔
I
い
mean,
そうだ
their
ね
commander chief pretty much was the cameraman that that filmed them the entire time.
Every time during the educational lecture of Yaping, she always repeat her famous saying that the dream of flying never weightless, and also the dream of scientific research
めっちゃ揺れてる
has
めっちゃ揺れてるめっちゃ揺れてる
infinite intention.
I mean, talk about instilling a passion in young Chinese and young people everywhere who aspire
It's good
to be
evening, good
astronauts.
morning,
That is a
it's Zhao
great way
Xiao.
to do it.
Well, Mr. Xu, I think we watched the first
Zhao
lecture
Xiao.
together, didn't we?
Exactly.
In,
With the
So-
ping pong
so-
ball
so Xiao.
floating in the
and
middle.
the blue
So
liquid
Yes.
the bigger.
And the flower.
そう
Yes.
じゃあこうだよねそう
And I was
上
saying
海
then, Zhongshu, to Mr. Xu, that if I had watched
Zhao-
that lecture
Zhao
from when I was young,
Shanghao.
maybe I would have
Zhao
chosen a
Shanghao.
different
Zhao
career.
Yeah.
Maybe.
大家好
You
大
know
家好
that some of
早
the
上好
students watching Yaping's first
Evening,
lecture
Dad.
in 1913 has already become
San,
part of our crew in the
San.
space programs.
That's
Wow.
just wonderful to hear.
好
Yaping is the second Chinese female astronaut to have made it. Her maiden trip was back in 2013, where she also delivered a lecture
上海
from space.
Yeah,
But this is her
during,
first time. This is the first woman inside the space station.
Yes, and also during some interview of Yaping with the media, she also mentioned that her wish is to someday to walk on the moon
下
as
午
a Chinese
下午
astronaut.
好
青山更正结束。
1個だと
she
1個だと
did
揺れます
promise
ね
for
こう
Dawn
ふ
that
んふんっ
she
て
would bring
2個
her back
3個あると揺れないのか
a
ない
star.
つも見てる
回
さ
收好，跟踪结束。
Not greedy.
パラコンないんじゃないや
She
ドラゴンと
asked
かの
me
機
to
関だか
provide
らと
some
ね
names before the
複数
birth
個
of her
3個
daughter.
4個4個ある
Did
から
she
さ
go with your choice of
ふん
names?
ってあんまならないで
That's not mine.
Maybe next time.
Yes.
So we just had earlier 2 more
お
ground
はよ
stations
う
saying
下
that
午
they finished
好
tracking.
上
Yeah, we're seeing
So
that very
Shang-
close to the
Zhao
ground.
Shanghao,
Even
Shang
the image
Wu
from
Hao.
parachute see that image from the helicopter see the parachute is horizontal.
好
It's
好
like
好
very close. Could be the coming down at any
晚上好
moment.
Good evening
This last 40
Good morning.
kilometers seems to be
早
taking a lot
早
longer.
上好
Well, it's a lot longer than I had expected because the 80 to 100 kilometers was only
Tak, tak,
in the
tak,
blackout
tak.
zone. Only took what?
お
That
近い
was
近い
high
近い
velocity.
近い
This is like
one.
10 to 20 meters per
Time to
second.
adjust.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
北
by
京版
intention. You certainly don't want them to
No,
最后
go
don't
注
want
意
them，crashing
，too
我
fast,
是北京
right?
下面通报返回舱第4次落点预报，落
Okay,
点
the
经度
fourth and possibly the
东经
last
幺洞洞
forecast.
度
with coordinates.
3秒，东经腰动动度动9
Yeah,
分
that's taking effect
Oh,
of
they're
the
very
wind and
落点纬
everything.
度
So it's
北
coming
纬
down at any
4腰度
moment.
39分11秒，北纬
You'll
4
see the
腰度
ritual.
39
Yeah,
分
the
Oh,
ritual
wow,
engine
great.
fired. Yes.
Yes.
There it is.
着
Touchdown.
The
陸
smoke of the ritual engine.
返回舱着陆。
すごいビヨンビヨン
Capsule
なってる
has landed on Earth.
Capsule has
We're from
landed
this visual from the chopper, right? That has
Exactly. It's
been
already
monitoring. So it's so
close to
close.
sight,
It's
yes.
literally there.
literally following it. Yes.
Yes.
So the next step will be the cutting off the parachute.
The chopper has arrived in position.
What is that that we're
The
seeing?
ground team will be there momentarily.
华山
See the
helicopters
choppers are all,
coming in.
yeah, heading
It seems
back.
that it's vertical.
Was that the parachute or was that something else?
砂すごいね
Yeah, let's see. The choppers will be landing as well.
Okay.
Okay,
Wow.
so
So it looks
that's the
vertical.
え
Vertical.
これ本物
北京明白。
it looks
Very
东
precise
风，我是
landing.
北京。
that's
黄
good.
色してるなんか
I can't imagine what they're
すごい
feeling right now,
すごい
finally back home. In addition to gravity,
かっこいいなん
they
か
must feel
すごい CG っぽかったね今
Coming
面
from
白
landing
い
in the airport.
ピカピカさんピカピカさん
having
これ
their first
It's like the
meal
old, it's like the
back
old
on
TV
Earth.
game. You know, we have the helicopters coming down, mission accomplished.
Yeah, it does look a little surreal.
すごい
Yeah, the helicopters are reporting that they have arrived in position. You have people on the ground moving their way
立って
towards
立
the
って着陸してい
capsule.
るあそうだね縦向きだったね
We haven't heard anything from the astronauts just yet, have we?
So the ground crew is checking everything. So they'll have to wait for the ground crew to come.
There's a huge crew there waiting for them, isn't
They
there?
will not. The astronauts will not be opening, the gate to the capsule, right? It will be
The hatch.
ground.
The hatch
the
will be
hatch.
open. Yeah,
The
by
ground,
the
ground
crew.
staff will open the hatch.
Will open the hatch.
ピンポンって言ったピンポンって
They
言っ
have
た
to
今
check
ねえ
the
待って
hazard of the environment. The
We've,
external.
yeah, we've never had issues with the opening of the hatch, right? I mean, with all that's happened, if it's
Damaged.
damaged,
or
that'll be a problem
stuck,
to
right.
open, but we haven't had that issue. Yeah, you see people dressed in different colors, indicating that they're from different systems.
东风明白。
It does look like something out of a sci-fi movie right now, doesn't it?
Looks like they're not going to be using that pistol this time, though.
This time they will need a ladder to
东风报告。
to open the hatch.
Oh, with the elevated seats
The ladder
to open the
To
hatch.
open the hatch. Yes.
Okay.
主伞已脱落，下一步。
Yeah, the last time because it was sideways, I didn't remember them using any ladder.
No,
to,
no.
Beijing
ladder,
明白。
Just open it. So they announced the main parachute had been detached.
And they'll be checking the environment now to see if there's anything, any of the toxins remaining, right, from
Yeah,
all
the
the
helicopter are the first observer team and also communication teams. They arrive and they will coordinate the arrival of the ground team. They are traveling with the convoy, and once they arrive, they will have all the facilities and equipments in the car. From there, they can start the process, of opening the hatch and greeting the astronauts and make sure that the astronauts are okay and ready to move out before they do anything to the astronauts.
So is it just the propellant that they were releasing earlier that could potentially cause danger? Is there anything else, like the residual on
As
the capsule?
Professor Young
めっ
mentioned,
ちゃ
there's
かっこいい
also
何これえすごい
Gamma ray.
gamma
altimeter.
ray
Right.
altimeter that could be radioactive.
And that's why they have to go into quarantine as well for a bit, right?
No,
Not because of the gamma rays,
Quarantine's
but they
not
have
for
to.
the-
The quarantine is
かっこいい
because that they stayed in isolated
Right.
volume for so long
ラクダ
period. So the
ラクダ
microenvironment is quite different from
ラクダいた
our
の
common
ラクダがいた
daily
の
life.
本当
So their
夜間に
immuno
見えるいやいやわかるめちゃくちゃ夜間に見えるよね
relatively
なんかだってへこんでる夜間とかに見えるよね
So
なんか
they
ね
need this quarantine procedure to ensure
夜
their
間にし
safety
か見え
and
ない
healthy.
It's like last time NASA administrator visited China and he had diarrhea And he said, and it's because it's different germs.
You can compare to the expedition team to the South Pole. Usually, that during their missions to the South Pole, seldom people will be ill and catch cold. They do not have so much microbes in the South Pole in Antarctica regions. But when they can get back, usually they will very easily to be get ill because they will need to readapt the ordinary environment. So this quarantine is very, very necessary.
So no concern of anything in space that could have that they would need to be in a
come back
quarantine.
with them.
Yeah.
There's also
I think they're trying to open the hatch now. I thought that I saw a ladder and someone was on that ladder trying to open the hatch.
ラクダじゃないラクダじゃない何じゃあロート
Have we heard from the
They're talking to the
Whoa,
astronauts,
whoa.
communicating with the window. I think through the window they're trying to
電池がなくておいとまします
see what's
あ
inside
ーお
and
疲
the
れ様です
astronauts are okay.
Yeah.
ふぅ
Can the astronauts hear them through that window?
Yeah, they can hear the
一般通過ラ
helicopters
クダ
and the big
ラ
noises.
クダいたのあいつリア見逃しちゃったんですけどラク
These
ダ見
are
たかっ
welcome
た
voices that they
Yeah,
want to
things they
hear.
want to hear. Yes.
キツネなのキツネが住んでるの
I mean, the capsule itself doesn't look too
キ
charred,
ツネが住んでるのか
considering
Yeah, there
the
was
return
a
process. I
heat
mean, look
insulation
at it.
bottom that was dropped, so the side of the capsule has been also burned relatively well, especially the side that's facing the Earth. The upper side is okay because it's less burned. So the chart you see from the charcoal on the lower part of the capsule. So they're coming back in a
The hatch
in an
has been
angle.
opened.
Yes. So they have the ladder now. They are trying to open the hatch.
So
So
the medical team will
in
go
fast,
first
right?
into the vehicle
In white.
to help the astronauts.
The guys in white are medical teams.
Yes.
So I'm trying to imagine, Professor Young, what you were saying about this next generation of
Airbags.
yes, airbags surrounding the capsule as it lands, and how they would have to navigate their way.
Actually speaking, not only we China use this on this new generation spaceship, the U.S. the Starliner also use the similar technical methodology to use the airbag as for the energy impact dumping.
It's impressive every time they have the people with the red flag always go there and
First there with the flag.
Of course, it's a moment of
旗が
national
かっこいい
pride.
yeah.
いいなぁめっちゃかっこいいめっちゃかっこいい旗かっこよすぎる
Yeah,
There's
it
going to
takes
be
it takes a little bit of time for the medical team to check up on the astronauts,
And
and
it's
they are readapting, readjusting, obviously, to gravity and to everything around them. We should be able to see them in a few moments, though.
Can we expect them to be walking out, or will they be lifted
no.
out? Right, their
They'll
legs,
be
taken out by the ground
muscles,
staff.
Right.
There'll be
Seated
6 or
in
8 guys
chairs.
with the armchair, and then they will start carrying them to. I'll probably put them on right below the flag, and some interviews and some
I mean,
talks.
gravity aside, they haven't eaten in the past 9, 10, or more hours on this trip back home.
That's what they're experiencing. I mean, gravity for 6 months for the first time. Yes.
So it could be a while before they're able to get the strength in
記
their
念
legs
撮
back.
影の準備してたんですねねちょっと待って
The
Yeah,
astronauts will feel their
Yeah.
arms and legs are so heavy at this moment because they have been floating the atmosphere in the station for 6 months.
Right.
So they have to lift their arms at this moment, and they don't have to take any efforts to do that. And they're floating around. Now they have to make an effort, use their muscle to lift everything. So everything would
Big
feel very,
changes.
very heavy. It's like you're swimming for 1 hour or 2, and then you feel, the gravity.
ただいま
We can see
ちょうどいいんじゃ
that
ないほら
the reaction
これもつい
capsule
てるし
is in different colors in different parts.
Professor.
Yes.
All right. We're going to talk to our reporter Sun Ye now. She's now at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center. Sun Ye, so a successful return for our astronauts. What is everyone saying there?
Hey there, I'll just quickly update what we're having here. We are actually pretty much seeing the same live streaming, the broadcasting of their return. And the experts here at the Beijing Control Center have been saying the touchdown is perfect. Many of them have been putting a thumb up to us, saying the touchdown has been perfect. And they are saying the 3 taikonauts, Shenzhou 13 crew, they are in the best position to come out of that re-entry capsule. They're sitting in the perfect position for them to make the best outing of that capsule. And again, in that last half an hour or so here at the Beijing Control Center, everyone is kind of still holding a little bit of breath, not because of the process, not because they think of it as dangerous, because all of them, including the taikonauts, have been practicing, running through drills, and they are familiar with the process. But just because the mission itself is so meaningful and such a success, and here now we've been hearing many good news already. Now, back to you.
Thank you so much for that update, Sonia. I'll speak to you again later.
中国の例文多いのが意外。これは英語配信を見てますね。中国語の配信もありますけど、みんなにも分かりやすいように英語の配信を選んでいます。
This is the second manned mission for this.
ビズエリア、あ、伝わった。
Two more after this.
Two more this year for the construction completion of the station from I shape to T shape. So another 2 wings to add to the station, 2 more fuselage, and then we are completing the station with 2 more missions.
And their stays will overlap briefly in the space station.
Week or 2, yes.
So there will be 6 people altogether.
6 people in the station.
For 1 week.
Yeah.
For 1 week.
During the turnover of each different expedition teams, the Shenzhou 15 will reach the station before the leaving of the Shenzhou 14 crew. So they will stay together for about 1 week.
Will any of their missions, the 2 to come, out be longer than this current one, or is this one going to be the longest one?
The ordinary turnover of each team will be 6 months, just like this one. But Mr. Zhou Jianping, the chief designer of China's manned space program, said also it is possible for Earth to have longer missions. I believe that will be mainly for scientific research, to measure, for instance, a longer residence duration, more than half a year, the influence of the outer space to the human body. So that will be a very meaningful study, especially as a preparation for the future missions, potential future missions to the Mars.
The longest duration I remember was 800 days plus.
800 days.
That's accumulated one. So the one single residence is the record is 437 days in the Mir station. A Russian cosmonaut called Polyaev.
And it's good that the medical people were only there briefly. And,
側面が一部だけ変色してるのは地位低減に傾けて飛んだ後でしょうか。ね、なんか焼けてる向きがね、横一面だけだからね、なんかこう斜めにした時にそこだけ焦げたんかな。そうだよね、そんな気がするよね。あっちは上ですね。この形でやかましくない？新州13型夜間ダメか、カプセルの入った人の乗ったカプセルを火にかけるような危ないことできないか。でも夜間にちょうどいいと思うんだけどな、なんか
Can't imagine they'd want to so soon either.
Usually they will have their first meal before they fly back to Beijing, just maybe this afternoon.
Okay.
Why do they make that flight today? Why don't they like take the day off and just rest?
中国だと作ってそう。なんかこの柄の、このさ、これのさ、わかる？このネクタイの消えてるけど、ネクタイの柄のさ、このネクタイの。このネクタイの柄のなんか水筒とかはあるらしい。
And they'll be doing their quarantine essentially in Beijing as well.
Yeah. In the apartment of the astronauts in the space in the
あれ
space
に
city
夜
of
間が。夜間欲しいな。この形の夜間めっちゃ欲しくないだって。リアめっちゃ欲しい。焦がしたい周り。
Flurry of activity there. So checking in with the astronauts.
タパタパタ
So
パタ
these guys in blue color, which system are they from?
I think it's also the medical team judging from their trousers because the
今のう
blue
ち
is just
に
the
イアの
overcoat.
配信できればグッドボタンライクボタンを押していってください。ライクボタンを押しておいてくださいね。押していってもらえるとこの子強いって YouTube がわかるから YouTube に知らしめてやろうぜ。こいつはいっぱい配信に客を集めてくれるいい VTuber だって。
Usually, that's the
ありがとうございます。
in the middle. Usually,
高評価増えました。ありがとうございます。助かります。
out of
助かります。
vehicle first.
ありがとうございます。
I mean, it looks like it's going to be difficult to lift them from that position from when the
もう押
hatch
したけ
is.
どもう一回押す？ダメダメダ
Right,
メ。もう
exactly.
2回押しとい
It's
て。
a very small opening
It's a very
to
small
get them
opening,
out.
and how do you lift them up one by one from there?
I suppose we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll keep watching.
地上員が青色の人に変わった。なんかメディカルなんたらって言ってたからもしかしたらそういう方々なのか
I
も
mean,
し
they'll
れ
be
ませ
coming
んね。
back with so much data.
青いジャケットとオレンジのジャケットで分けてるっ
The
ぽ
last
い
few。times has been horizontal, so they can some sort of carry them out. So this time they have to climb themselves out, I think.
あ、燃料放出した時に焼けたのかもって。
Which
あ
could mean
あ。
that they need more
なる
time
ほ
to
どね。
regain that
その放出
strength,
した燃料ってもう地上で大丈夫なのかな。防護服とかも着てないし。
move out of the hatch there.
高いところで出したからもう大丈夫ってことなんだろ
So
う
I
か
want to
ね。
ask you a little bit more about the mission that these three had completed. I mean, what was
日本
some of
姉
the,
妹っていうの
would you say, were some of the biggest technical breakthroughs from
For
this mission for the Shenzhou 13?
For the Shenzhou 13, I think the biggest one is the duration itself. 6 months has been unprecedented. That's a breakthrough for even also for the astronauts to stay in orbit. The longest one before was 33 days crew. So this is the biggest challenge. And also the breakthrough also goes on to the station itself. The spacesuit they wear is also a newly designed, and also the female astronauts doing EVA, and also is a breakthrough because the spacesuit has to be tailor-made
この VTuber は
for the
世
females,
界の
for the
打ち上
smaller
げに
figures.
Yeah,
航空宇宙
we're
産業に
hearing
つい
from
て
the
とて
ground
も
team who
とても
report that the checkup, the health
なん
checkup
だろ
on
う
the
関心がありま
Titanots
す的な
turns
こと
out
中
to
国
be
で書いて
good,
くれてありが
that
と
they're
う
in good health.
その通りです
They should be able to come out of the hatch anytime now. This is their readaptation period as they once again feel the gravity here on Earth.
あのファンテン C VTuber
So the
あれ
astronauts already
ファンテン
at this moment.
ハ
We
ンハ
haven't
ン
heard from them once
Han-
they
Han
landed,
Ten.
right? We
Yeah,
haven't heard-
before blackout. Yes. And also
VTuber
during
I guess
descent
with
there
the
was
です
medics now instead.
よろしく
Just minutes before, we heard the voice of Mr. Zhai Zhigang after
Han
the
Tian,
moon suit
Han
is
Tian.
deployed.
Yeah,
Han
but
Ten.
not since they landed.
Yeah, yeah.
We have yet to hear
反
them.
天
航天
反天
But
反
obviously the
天
ground
反
team
天
that were checking up
C
on them have reported that
VTuber.
they're doing fine, they're in
Han
good
Tian.
health.
反
They
天
just need this brief time to recuperate.
よろし
And
く
then
よろし
it's
くよろ
likely
し
that
く
they
ね
will have to climb out of the
I
hatch
have a Bilibili
themselves
account
because the position that the capsule finds itself in.
And not to mention that their muscles and the whole body.
地上でも
their
配管
strength
パワーで
would
してから
be
近づけば万全だけど絶対なさそうでしたねうんリアもなんかそうかなと思った結構すぐ近づいてましたよ
space
ね
station.
Yeah, you have the medics on
リプライ映像
standby
が
just
リ
beside the
プレイ
capsule, ready to assist them should they
感
have any
覚良好お
difficulty
ありが
coming
とう
out of the
8
capsule.
Just before their return
ビリビリ
today,
あようこそありが
in
とう
recent
ビ
days,
リ
they
ビリ
just
持ってる
have
の
more
ビリビリの
intensive
リアのね
physical
どこだっ
exercise
け
every day
ビリビ
to
リ
keep them
にある
strong.
よ
As we have already discussed, the re-entry
反転
procedure has very
大家好
violent vibration and also G-forces, so they must strong enough to adapt this environment.
クリアビリビリ宇宙船渡辺さん頑張っててって言う方登録します渡辺さん頑張ってどういうこと
Yeah, they're there,
渡辺さん頑張ってこれでいいのかな頑張って頑張れあでもリアねガンバロケットっていうのがあって
This crew has a
ガンバロケットっていう
feeling
のがあ
well
るから
crew.
Yeah, think about all of them report
Positivity.
they feel
Beijing, this is from
fine.
Shenzhou 13.
ガンバロケット
safely
みんな
Landed. with the return capsule standing on the ground.
97人を見てくれてる。ありがとう。
and 03 all feeling very good.
宇推くりあの宇宙船。そうそうそうそう。
Congratulations
宇推
to
くりあ
all
の宇
the
宙
crew
船。
members.
Sorry, I can't understand Chinese,
Salute.
but
We are
I
waiting for you
can
in the
understand
capital
easy
city,
English
Beijing.
and
See you
easy
in Beijing.
Chinese.
Sweetest words ever. Can you imagine your family hearing these words, hearing them speak for the first time after they land? It's just incredible.
Reminds me of the song, I'm feeling good.
I feel good. That one?
I'm feeling good, that one.
わあ。
Alright, now that we've heard them speak,
リアが言っているのは、タザハオでしょ、財前でしょ、シューマイ
and 夜光府
ラーメン
back home on Earth.
After a record-breaking 6 months in space, obviously they carried out 2 EVAs. They conducted some 20 scientific experiments while they were in there.
And 2 live classrooms from the
ぐらいし
space
かわかん
station
ない
as
や。
well,
Absolutely.
streamed to millions of students in China.
北京东风报
We
告。
just heard the ground staff reporting the final coordinate of the landing point.
We have completed with the measuring of the site of touchdown, and now I'm sharing the coordinates of the
明白
touchdown with
明
you.
白。
9分38秒，落点纬度。
So this data is also a very valuable reference for the future missions.
落点纬度。
ラブライブタンクク。
自由度。
タンクク。
41 degrees
报告
north.
完毕。
北京明白。
太好劲吧！太好劲吧！
Process of the landing. As you can see that now the return capsule is standing straight on the ground. This is already the 13th manned spaceship, and this was the second time for us to witness such a position of the landing, and the last time for us to have this position of the landing is with the Shenzhou 6. It's a very good condition and positioning angle for our taikonauts to get used to the gravitational environment again. And just now we have checked out that all the 3 taikonauts are in very good physical conditions. We have also dispatched our medics inside the cabin to check out the current status of our 3 astronauts. We would like to make sure that we can have some basic understanding about their status quo, and moving forward, we will also go through a pre-designated procedure of the medical treatment for our astronauts before getting them out of the cabin. So we have to wait a little bit more
原神に人気
with
があ
a
り
lot
ま
of
す。
patience.
そうなんだ。カオはいいわ、かわいい。まんまやんけ。まんまやん。そのまんまでしょ。カはいいでしょ。読めるわ。上、下、上下って書いてるのはカーだもんね。カードとかもカーだよね。
I've taken the helicopter. I have followed
30分ぐらいかかるって、ここから出るのに。
observation in the air. I'd like to share with you some
出るまで
personal
見てよっか。
observations and feelings. First of all, it has been a very precise landing, and especially for that moment of the landing by the return capsule. At the same moment, our helicopters made the landing too. It's almost simultaneous landing.
素晴らし
And
い
we
ロ
have
ケ
also
の
realized
人。
the measurements in a very precise
ロケット
way.
の人。
For the manned space program, it's a program with high requirements of the precision. We need a highly precise technologies to guide us through, and we also need a lot of advanced technologies to support the extension of the parachutes as well as the other stages along this process of the returning of the capsule. For example, the igniting, and also at this exact moment of the landing, the detachment between the parachute and also the return capsule.
どうすればリアの配信が見れるかって言って VPN 使ってんのかって聞いてて、中国からだと YouTube 見づらいかな。 VPN 使ってるの？
Separation between the return capsule from the parachute, and everyone's contributing their part of effort, and we are working in a perfect coordination. I've also heard from the site And we have made this whole procedure a very friendly to our astronauts and also streamlined the process because we understand that the three astronauts have been working and living in the space for 6 months. They have been working in the zero gravity environment. We understand that there will be some damage to or impact to their bones and also to their muscles. So sincerely we hope to create this wonderful and friendly environment for them to get out of the return cabin. As you can see now from the spot, we have more rescuers coming to the spot. Medics, they are also putting up the for the taikonauts to use a little bit later when they once can get out of the return capsule. And from the image we have now, they are establishing some facilities to help our taikonauts out of the return capsule.
稍后呢，可能我们就会等待我们航天
And
的
later on, we'll be waiting, all of us, to observe that wonderful moment for our taikonauts to climb out of the return capsule. The ground staff is all here, and our helicopters have also made the landing. It means that currently we have already established this whole network of coordination and telecommunication.
英語の可愛いみたいなものか。そうだね、そうそうそうそう。
Now the procedure is running in an orderly manner on the spot of the landing. The medics, they are working very hard inside the return capsule. They are communicating with our astronauts. So in the return capsule, I've also received some latest updates just a few minutes ago.
航天
Taikonaut return. Taikonaut.
You've been hearing the voice of our colleague at the Mandarin channel who is watching all of this unfold very closely. It looks like the taikonauts are getting ready to come out through the hatch there. I mean, I feel very conflicted here. I'm dying to see them, but I don't want them to rush because obviously they need this time to get ready. And as you see, every scenario of the hatch exit was anticipated. You see those ground personnel there erecting all these ladders for them to climb down. This was obviously prepared for this landing position.
And we heard earlier from the chief designer for the landing site that these crews have been conducting drills after drills to prepare for this, so they would be ready for all eventualities and scenarios. So this is it's all running smoothly.
Yeah, this reminds me of also the company, American company Blue Origin. They also have a capsule that goes to outer space about 100 kilometers and then come back, and also in vertical position. But they have it like a side door that can open with the walkout of the astronaut, and also huge windows. And they can.
We have set up this operation platform. We have also dispatched experts and also medics to the landing site. They are preparing the whole site. And just now I've received some latest updates a few moments ago. We have all attached the great importance and attention to the first meal that our 3 taikonauts are going to have when they land. They can have a huge diversity of choices for their first meal after the landing. They have the Chinese bounce, they have the porridge, as well as the noodles. They have the potato and the Chinese baby cabbage, and also the seaweed and some pickles, as well as the sausages. They can also have the strawberry, the tomatoes, cucumbers, as well as the yogurt. So from this recipe, and also the menu for their first meal after their landing, that's a very enriched meal, and according to the latest information, our medics and also the experts
食べ物の話してる
they are proceeding with
3人の数には食べ物があるなるほどね
3 Taikonauts from the return capsule.
3人の好きな食べ物が用意してあるの何がスピなんだろう何がスピって言ってたかな
Vehicles waiting now on the spot. So this is one
何の食べ物
each of the 3 Taikonauts. This time it will be quite different from the previous landing experiences, because this time we would like to shorten as much as possible the waiting time for our 3 astronauts. This time we have this specialized chair to transfer our 3 Taikonauts to the vehicles.
確かにね大事だよね確かにね
Inside each of the medical vehicles, there is a usable surface of 12 square meters. This is a significant improvement compared to the previous landing of the Shenzhou 12 with a limited
野菜
area between 7 to 8 square meters, and you count that the last time for the Shenzhou 12 we had 3 astronauts too. So if you do the calculation, that's quite limited space for each of the Taikonauts. But this time we have greatly improved the conditions for the afterwards care and medical treatment to our 3 Taikonauts. We have made the environment and all the conditions much more friendly to the Taikonauts. They can have a very good environment to take a rest inside. They can enjoy each of them one whole vehicle for their care, and they can also be expecting very delicious meals during their first meal after the landing. We have prepared a very enriched and abundant meal for them.
Sausage
So judging by the existing procedure, you can see that we have made a lot of improvements.
Again, our colleague in the Mandarin channel
食べつ
reporting
ソ
on
ー
the
セ
site
ージ
here. My takeaway from that is that they get to eat pretty much everything. There's basically nothing they can't eat should they have the appetite for it.
It's not a too shabby menu, is it? Plus something from your province too.
Absolutely. From
Sichuan
Sichuan.
sausages.
Yes, Mr.
Sounds a bit
Ye Guangfu
stimulating.
is a native of Sichuan province, so maybe
Might be his request.
he likes spicy food.
Yes, and
Yeah.
they had quite a variety of food to choose from when they were working there in the space station.
草
Right? More than
草
100
草いちご味的
different kinds
紅
of food
棒何これ
to sustain them for
紅柿紅柿
the past
ストロベリーのトマト
So
っ
it
てこ
sounds
と
like as long as it's
トマト
nutritious
かな
diet, it's not too
ラ
big
クダ
a factor in their recuperation after landing, right?
Yeah,
草
the
莓味
space
的
food
红
is
柿
always tastes
草莓
different from
シンク
Earth. Also, you know, you
草
have
莓
the experience of
红
flying.
柿
You have lunch and dinner on the plane, and the food is completely different from what you have on Earth. So they're different tastes. And also
Right.
before the meal, they will have a bumpy ride back to the base,
Yes.
and the vehicles are ready,
Sichuan
and they have had a
シュッ
a
チャン
very
シャンチ
smooth
ャン
ride for 6
Sichuan
months, and this is the
Sichuan.
first time they're taking the vehicle.
But a more comfortable one than the
Sichuan
one that the last
Sichuan.
crew rode on back to Beijing. This one is 12 square meters, I think they said, so very spacious, and I guess enough for the crew, the medical crew, to be around as well to look after them and be on hand when they need.
In outer space, because of
す
the
ごいもうこんなにいろいろ取り付いたりもうこんなにいろいろ旗立ったり
in our bodies, so
すごいね
the tongue will be less sensitive than on the Earth. So as Yanson has mentioned, the maybe the space food will be more salty, more spicy,
Right,
sort
right.
of that.
スパイシーとか言ってますけどもう食べ物の話しかしてないじゃんお腹空いてきた
needs at
よ
this moment. They deserve every bit of it after what they endured, what they were able to accomplish
コンリアプラネッ
on
ト
this
ちゃん
very long
宇宙に行ったら新鮮な野菜食べられないもんな
Shall we
ね
say?
ほんとそうなんだよね
Say national heroes.
多言語飛び交うちょっとすげえありが
Absolutely.
とうまだグッドボタン押してない人あともう少しで100になるから100にしておくれグッ
to
ド
practice all kinds of conditions, not
Right.
only this normal condition, but in some other different conditions. They must face the different case for the rescue the astronauts.
Speaking of the ground crew, let's get another update from our reporter Sun Ye, who's at the Beijing Aerospace Command Center. Sun Ye, so bring us up to date on the latest.
Hi there. Again, here from the Beijing Control Center. You heard it. We heard it. Announcement of complete success. A complete success.
Complete
of
success ちゃんとう
touchdown.
まくいったって、タッチダウンまでうまくいきましたということ
We
です。
have Li Liang, who is
リャン
one
さん
of the designers here at the
デ
Beijing
ザイナーだ
Control
って。
Center. I'm going to ask him what it feels like after this whole night. 谢谢你，就是李亮。
インタビューですね、インタビュー。
刚刚宣
So,
布
Mr.
成功
Lee,
就来，
just
我
now
们
we
刚才
have
听到
declared the
就是
successful
现场有好
landing
多
of the
次
return
的掌声
capsule,
上面也
and we
说
heard
人们
rounds
注意
of applauses on the side of the commanding
すごい、多言語喋ってる。
center, staying
中
here
国語と英語が喋れるアナウンサ
on
ー。
the side. How do you feel now? From yesterday morning until
昨日の
now,
朝から
we've
今
been
まで
working here,
ずっと働いてい
trying
ま
to
した、ここで。
safeguard this mission. And this time, the astronauts have made the successful return to Earth. We feel that our efforts are paying off.
よかっ
And
た。
just now, I noticed that lots of people have shown their thumbs up.
演练一模一样。
So that's the real scenario corresponds with the scenarios in the drills. Yes, we practiced everything. The whole process has been running very
Practice
smoothly. We
everything.
have realized a very
Little bit
precise
misses there.
control, and also the landing in general is a very perfect one. We've also heard for multiple times that it has been a very perfect mission. So this is a mission that has lasted for more than 6 months. It's the first time for us to have this very long experience. And what's so special for you about this mission? For the first time, we have used a mirroring separation for our spaceship.
Over 100 likes.
And
Oh, thank you.
correspondingly, we have
100 likes.
carried out a lot of design details and
100
also
likes.
the
Thank you.
drills. We have
ありがとうござい
also
ます。
activated the rapid
谢谢。
return plans with
谢
only
谢。
5
ありがとうございます。
We have first of all carried out the process of verification.
ありがとう。
We have also used
加油
the
加油
real
加油。
spaceship to do the drills. We have also elaborated a lot of plans for the emergency response to make sure that the return plan can be realized in a very rapid way. So you have already communicated with the crew members of the Shenzhou 13 about the rapid return plan? Yes. Previously, in our communication with the Taikonauts, I have already told them that we may use this rapid return plan that can help us to save a dozen of hours. And they were very happy upon hearing this news about the rapid return plan. And we are also very proud
英語と中国語と日本語で
because we
リ
made
スニング
it.
テストの気分で、本当になんか耳がね
Thank you very much.
こんがらがるよね。
And because Mr. Lee
So the
has
mission
to
is not
leave.
complete for people here at the Beijing Control Center. Mr. Li Liang, who's part of the team, the ground team here at the Beijing Control Center, he was one of those who gave a huge applause when that successful touchdown happened. And we will be updating about this whole process throughout the rest of the day. Back to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And,
you.
a
Back to
huge
you だって。
congratulations to
返
everybody
します。
there.
インタビューだったんだけど、リエが逆に訳すと聞き取りづらいかなと思って黙ってここにするわ。
Preparing for next missions to come. We're talking about a very busy schedule for China's space program this year. 2 more modules, experimental modules to be sent up. 2 more
今年は
crews to be
2
sent
more
up into space. And by the end of the year, we're expecting the completion
modules?
of China's own space
そうなんだ。
station, a T-shaped structure, a T-shaped space station up there.
今年は忙しいってさ、2個もっと 2個ぐらい
years altogether.
くっつけるモジュールがあるって言ってて、打ち上
So
げも有人
11
打ち上げも
missions
ある
altogether
と
for 2021 and 2022. And we'll have this one is just one of those. So the manned missions that you're talking about, and of course there's going to be some cargo missions there as well, right? Some cargo flights.
Next month we will have the Tianzhou 4 cargo mission.
天井
from
4
the
カゴミッションが
Wenchang,
次だって。
satellite,
天井
spacecraft launch
4
site. But
は
before that, they do have other critical steps. For instance,
次はカゴミッショ
after
ン
the
だって
leaving of the Shenzhou 13 crew, the Tianzhou 3 cargo ship currently docked to the rear docking port will undock and turn to the front and then redock with the front docking port. This is to free the rear docking port for the Tianzhou 4 cargo ship. So before the arrival of the
How does the redocking take place, Professor Yang?
it will be achieved automatically, by the cargo ship
自動
itself.
でドッキングするって言ってますよね。なんでドッキングするのって自動ですって言ってるね。
Tianzhou 4 mission, because before the arrival of the Shenzhou 14 crew, they will also have two cargo ships docked to the station, Tianzhou 3 and Tianzhou 4.
戦場3と4のカーゴミッションがあって、その後戦場14のクルーが行くってことかな。
Shenzhou 14, that's the milestone. Yeah, the man mission, and also the launching of the two more the Tianhe, Wentian and Mengtian. So those two, yeah, the two more fuselage that is part of the station. So those are the historic moments that we're expecting, and also the overlapping of the two crews on board the Shenzhou, the Tiangong mission. That is also something to look forward. 6 guys at the same time on board.
6人の人間が同じタイミングで宇宙に行くってことかな。今聞こえたの
Well, you
が。
can have more on board, but that's not necessary at this moment. We can always accommodate more astronauts on board.
Okay.
Well, in the Wentian module, we will have another 3 beds for the bedrooms for the astronauts. So for the 6 crew, during the turnover of each expedition team, each astronaut will have his or her private space.
And then once the space station is complete, you expect that China will have astronauts up there constantly? Will it be just
Continuously.
Continuously?
Yeah.
Continuously.
Because this will be more efficient. You know that in these missions, before the leaving of the Shenzhou 13 crew, they must switch the configuration of the status of the station from manned status to an unmanned status. For instance, the life support and the environmental control system will be in a different condition. They will not produce oxygen from the water any longer, and also some other instruments must be switched to a different configuration. So in the future, after construction, as you have mentioned, we will not need this kind of switch. Right. So it will save a lot of time and also will be more efficient. Moreover, it is very important to let the different expedition teams to be face to face and to introduce the work of the scientific research. There will be multiple scientific research racks on the Wentian and Mengtian module, and doing scientific research continuously. So before the leaving of one expedition team, in many cases the research will not be completed. So it is very important to introduce the current status, current condition to the next team in orbit.
Right. Well, whilst we're on the subject, Mr. Xu, so just give us an overview of the space station, and it will eventually look like a T, right?
Well, yes, we have 3 stations so far in history. The first one is, of course, the Russian Mir station. It's similar to the one we're constructing. And the second one is the International Space Station, which is huge in scale and is also participated by more than 20 countries. Also the newly deployed the Chinese station, which is a T-shape, total of
100いいねの拍手は個人的な VTuber にとっては簡単なことじゃないよって言ってくれてますね。そうなんですよ。個人 V なので。
Bear in mind that we're launching the station and the astronauts from 2 different launching sites. The Hainan
アーカイブ見たよとか言ってくれてるみたいだから、まあそれは消さないでおいておくね。
was recently visited by President Xi. That is responsible for launching the fuselage, the station itself, and the cargo ships.
ごめん、全然大丈夫。いろいろ言ってくれて助かってるよ。リリちゃんは特にリアの配信めちゃくちゃよく来てくれてるから。
All of those are launched from the
注意とかしてくれてありがとうね。かっこいいって言ってくれてるから、まあそれぐらいならいいかなって。逆になんかちょっと政治のこととかね、こう言い出したりとかすると、あれこれはちょっと良くない方向かなって思ったりすることはあるから、そしたらさっきみたいに注意してもらって大丈夫。ありがとうね。リアがちょっと中国語わからないのもあるから助けてくれてありがとう。
Are they moving chairs next to the capsule?
スケジュールたくさんあるみたいですね。ちょっと椅子持ってきた椅子。椅子ってなんていうの？椅子ってなんていうの？
In their suits, right? In their suits, the shield will be off. Chances are we will be hearing them speak.
They will still wear the IVA spacesuits.
椅子
Yeah, but without
まんまやん
the
け
helmet,
待って待って待って椅子
Already,
will be off.
椅子
Why won't they remove the suits for them? Because wouldn't it be
椅子
easier
は
for
椅子
them
な
to
の
walk without the suit?
Well,
Well,
you
they're
know,
not
that's
walking, but
the re-entry capsule is a very narrow volume, less than about 3 cubic meters. So it's
it's a very
difficult for
practical
them
concern. Okay.
change their suit inside the
椅子
cabin.
椅子は椅子
But the
いいぜ
idea is
椅子は同じ
very, very
ああ
critical
椅子
for,
椅子
ensure
椅
the
子
safety of the astronaut. You know that during history, they do have tragedy in history. During the flight of the Soyuz 11 mission, because the malfunction of the valve, so the, during the re-entry, the leak of the valve caused a vacuum condition inside the cabin. And the 3 astronauts cosmonauts only wear ordinary suits, so they lost their life in a very painful
短歌じゃないのかっ
condition.
てなんだろうね
So the suit can provide some pressure.
海南のこと書いてる僕は海南に住んでいるへえすごい海南廃校に住んでるへえでも近いじゃん
So it's if you lose pressure, yeah, on board the cabin.
そのままなんですねって椅子じゃなくてイズ
And
あ
it
イ
is
ズ
chilly over there.
イズ
So
Easy.
after the Soyuz 11, after Soyuz 11 disaster,
Easy.
there is no exception that all the crew transportation vehicles.
椅子椅子
They've unfastened from the seats.
Mr. Zhazhuang has left his seat.
椅子
So they have safety belts in different for fixing their
Nice member.
legs and their
Nice
bodies
member.
to be a countermeasure to the violent and the intense vibration.
椅子椅子椅子椅子椅子椅子椅子椅子
EVA on Earth.
EVA on Earth, which will be much easier.
With many helping hands.
どう日本語と英語と中国語を使ってちょっとシャレっぽいこと言った椅子椅子椅子あ椅子椅子椅子
taikonaut there.
And a few more for the descending.
Is-
So they're ready to carry the
is-
astronauts onto the chair.
How long will it usually take before they can get their strength back and start walking
Could be
again by themselves?
weeks. Could be
Could be
weeks. Yes.
And during this time, would they still be undergoing some rehabilitation exercises?
Exactly, because of the 6-month exposure in outer space, they have lost so much bone mass. They can have easily can have a fraction of the bone. So their bone, their muscle needs to be rebuilt, and the inner ear has to find the balance on it. So everything has to come together. So that will take some time. Even they have a hearty meal waiting for them. Still, it would take some time to recover.
They might find lifting chopsticks even pretty difficult, right?
You know that in a common situation, 6 months resident in space, they will lose about 12% of their bones.
Oh, wow.
So that will be a very severe condition for them.
航天
It's
员
a
已
good thing
脱
that's
掉航
reversible,
天
right?
服
When they
反
And
転
also,
反
not
反
only
転
the
员
exercise, daily exercise is very,
反転
very
脱掉
important. Also,
航
their
天
nutrition
服
is
一
very,
猪
very
脚
important.
一
The
猪
human
脚
body is such a thing that
反
people
転
can
粉
use it.
反転员一猪脚反転粉反転员一猪腳反転粉 Okay.
The captain in his
Yuan.
bones even increased.
反転
So
員は
that's
宇宙
very
飛行
amazing
士
that because of the
一
that is
猪
important
脚
of the nutrition.
が脱いでま
that's
す
a good perk.
で反
The
転
exercise
服が
they were
反
doing
転
in
服
the
宇
space
宙
station,
服
is there a bike that they were
Yeah,
Wakana.
a space bike.
反転員は
Also the
一
treatment.
猪
Yegonfu
脚
was on that
反
a lot.
転
I
服
see
A lot.
pictures of Yegonfu on that bike a lot.
Lots of elastic bands. To
right.
You know that some
Weights as
astronauts
well?
今ね、
on the,
服脱いでるって書い
on the
言ってくれ
international
たよ。
station even break a record to
世界。
have for full
本当
complete
草
manual also
草ですか？
use
リアの
treadmill.
中国語は本当草ですか？なんで
That's pretty intense workout
Yeah.
for most people.
And also
anyway.
Yaping has a ability to
撮影するときに
accomplish
座るよかなとか
full
インタビューよか
marathon.
なとか言われてますね。
She has the ability. Has she successfully done that
Yes,
here on Earth?
yes, yes.
A marathon?
A
Yeah.
marathon.
Huh?
Yeah, apparently.
A full one? We'll have to find out.
I mean, she was said to be really good at PE back in school when she was growing up. That's why she stood up among her peers as
体
a
育が上手かっただって。
very capable candidate when she applied
カナダって言った
for
かな？ 彼女は体育が上手でしたって言ってましたね、なんか。
She
At
is
the academy.
freighter pilot.
But if you are astronauts in China, that
赤
means
ちゃん
you
っ
eat
ぽい
well,
って言われ
you
て
sleep
る。
well,
赤ちゃんっ
and
ぽい。
exercise.
あ、そうなの。
That's a
Very strict.
majority
My
part of
Chinese
their
is
job.
like
It's also
baby.
very interesting that Yaping
Very disciplined.
has a wish to become an astronaut when she watched the live coverage of CCTV of Yang Liwei's first trip. So you can see
中で宇
the
宙服脱い
outreach
でる
and
の
also
って
the
なんかそうら
broadcasting
し
is
いで
very
すね。
important
さっき
for
もらっ
us.
たコメントによると、コメントで言ってるからよくわかんないけど。
Who will be inspired from these people? I mean, I have so much
とても
respect
可愛い
for
で
them
す。ありがと
because of
う。
their strenuous training and preparations for these missions, and also because of the risks they were willing to
PE
take
が上手だ
to
ったっ
make
ていうふう
this
に
a
言ってましたか
success.
ら、なんか彼女の過去の話とかはされてるんでしょうかね。
Absolutely.
6 months in space. I mean, that is, as much as that's an exciting thing that not
6
many
ヶ月
humans
もい
will
て
get to accomplish, I think it's still a huge amount of endurance, right?
And
It's
every
not
time they
fast.
appear in video, they seem to be in such good spirits. I mean, you're talking about live space lectures or talking about their greetings to their fellow Chinese at the Chinese Lunar New Year Gala. And, you know,
International Women's Day? Don't forget that
6
one.
ヶ月も滞在したのは初めてのことなので、どうなるかみたいなの
Oh,
が
they
ね、
had dumplings up there with them.
初めてみたい。中で脱ぎます。あ、そうなんだ、ありがとう。中で宇宙服脱ぐんだね。
They're helping it.
お、出た
Must be Mr. Jai.
ー。脱いでないのかな、わかんないや。あ、でも、あ、
just a matter of
お、
Jai.
出てきた、出てきた。
Jai Zhigang, who sat in the middle of the 3 seats there.
あ
He has now
So
come out
he
of
is
the hatch.
a true veteran. He
座らせられた。
is the first Chinese astronaut to conduct a spacewalk.
Yes.
お
Joined
か
in
えり
1996, China's manned space agency. Joined then.
I mean, he always looks so calm, cool, and collected throughout the journey there. Always smiling.
That's what makes a commander, isn't it?
Very trustworthy, exactly.
おー、滑らせられてる。滑り台みたいになってる。わあ、ほうほうほうほう。
Accumulated, he's the longest
고마워요, 고마워요.
stayed man in China.
Amazing.
So more than
Just
100 days,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
あ
yeah.、
なるほどね。
Uh,
釣られてるん
more
です
than
ね。
12 days less than Yaping.
Because he went up with the Shenzhou
滑り台だ、
space,
滑り台。
Shenzhou 7 mission in 2008.
Because Shenzhou 7 mission only stayed in
おかえりな
orbit
さい。
for 3 days,
Yeah.
while Yaping in the Shenzhou 10
すごい。
mission for 15 days.
帰ってくるときは早いね、ほんと。
They're carefully carrying him to the chair where they previously placed right
持っ
next
て
to
か
the
れてる。
capsule.
ニッコニコじゃん。ニッコニッコニ
I
ッコ
think
ニ
you were saying before that it's now protocol now for all astronauts to wear the full spacesuit on the way back, right?
They will change their suit
座った。
maybe on the helicopter.
いいぞに座った、いいぞ。
quarantine chamber.
But this suit itself,
足元
how much
気。
would that weigh?
あ、くるまれるの
Not too.
くるまれるの
Too
Few
heavy.
kilos.
Okay.
Few kilos. They're able to walk in it.
Not like the 100-kilo spacesuits
No,
that they wear when they do
that's an
it.
EDA that with the life support system. Yes.
Actually
yeah.
speaking, there do have,
くるまれちゃう。
air supply and electrical supply from the cabin.
寝
So
袋みたい
the
になってる。
IVA spacesuit is much more
くるまれた。
simple
かわい
than
い。
the EVA spacesuits. And also, the most important thing, if I will be the, it provides a pressurization.
He's smiling.
He's smiling. There was a big thumbs up from him.
こっちも赤ちゃんみたいってね、ほんと。
Which is
かわ
very
いい
nice
な。
to see.
Yeah.
Waving his hands and smiling at the same time. That's good to see.
あ、帽子取った。
I mean, he's always
That's a
smiling. I
big
mean, every time you
smile.
see him, that guy is
His,
smiling.
his arm is so happy
Very
that
reassuring.
That weight must
every
have
time
felt
he
like
dropped
lifting
it,
weights.
it dropped his arm. Yes. I'd have it
It's
in outer
like waving
space. Yes.
with a 20-kilo weight
Yeah.
or something in your hand.
Looks comfortable.
It's a little bit windy. So
Yeah, they're wrapping
he's
them
well
up very tightly.
care.
カバンのように
He's saying something which we can't hear what he's saying.
小
He
籠
seems
包
to be in very good spirits, waving to a cheering crowd
翟志
there.
刚，你好，我是
That's
中
你
央
好
Good morning, Judge
Good
Zhigang.
morning,
I'm
你
a
好
journalist for CMG. Welcome back.
ちょっと待るね。
How do you feel now?
感觉非常
どんな気分
良好
で
I
すか
feel extremely good.
とてもいいです最高
向祖国和人民报告，
I'd like to report to my motherland and
神
the
13飞
people.
行任务
We have successfully completed the mission of the Shenzhou 13. We are now
都
back
邀我
on
现在
Earth.
感觉良好，
帰ってきました地球に。
Astronaut 01, I myself, I'm feeling very good. I'm really thankful for President Xi for his attention attached to our mission. I also would like to say thank you to Chinese people for your care and your support. Also, I would like to say thank you to all the colleagues staying with us. Our country has grown so much stronger to be able to set up this wonderful working platform for our side. I'm so proud of our motherland, our country. Thank you.
とても誇りに思いますっていうことを言ってたっぽいですね。ただリア、チャイニーズ、英語、そして日本語でなんて大変なので言わなかったけど、いろいろ言ってましたね。いや、英雄だな、さすが。6度くらい、寒いですね。
A very vibrated one.
Yeah, that's what we call high technology.
風も強い。写真撮ってる。
So they're coming out one by one.
Yeah.
We should be able to hear all of them speak a little bit.
Because the commander
みんな英語うまいの？そこそこ普通？普通聞き取れるけど喋れないぐらいかな。
I think they.
To the tents first.
A huge weight has been lifted off his shoulder. Can you imagine? I mean, he should need all the time in the world to rest and to recuperate.
We have 2 more astronauts waiting to come out.
あと2人いますからね。
Yeah, imagine 6 months without gravity, and then all of a sudden you feel all the gravity on your body, and even you feel your stomach, your heart is heavy. So
うまいと思うロシア語もわかるし、ロシア語もちょっとわかる。ちょっとだけね。
well, you can imagine that you submerge in water for a period of time, and you feel floating, and all of a sudden you came out of the water and you feel your body is very heavy. And that's what they've done for 6 months. So it's very heavy for them, and it's
A
the
lot of
gravity.
respect to them.
Yeah.
And for people that are interested in China's space program, they probably have seen this last year with Shenzhou 12. We're talking about a crew that stayed in space for 6 months. It's not just simple maths, twice the time they did. Then the impact on your body, the will, the stamina, the strength it takes to sustain a trip that long, it's just incredible. And these people are now on Earth with a new national
宇宙人だからいっぱい言語勉強しとかんとと思う。
Presumably their recovery will take longer as well.
Yeah, compared with the previous cruise, yes, the human body will recover after 2 or 3 months. So you regain your strength and you
かわいい。なんで？反転言わんとだ。反転不？反転言わん？
the bone. So that's why they're carrying them all the way instead of letting them.
Cute. ありがとう。
So they're getting the second astronauts out of it, and I think the astronauts also get what we call a culture shock, because you've been seeing the 3 faces for 6 months, and now you see so many different faces.
It's a nice culture shock to have, I'm sure. It's something that they will like to have.
But Yaping do have cosmetics during her mission because she can be seen not only by her crew members but also by the ground staff every day.
And by all of the people back here on Earth watching them powering through this very long mission.
I can still remember that one day that the ground staff said, "Okay, I can see your Guazerlian again."
It's referring to her very chiseled cheeks.
まだ出てませんね。中国語は漢字で書いてもらった方が分かりやすいね。中国語聞き取りはできないけど、漢字で書いてもらえたら、おお、なるほどなるほどって思いますね。
Pretty professional, very engaging in her lectures.
Yeah, I definitely liked watching that little classroom live streamed from space. Very dynamic in that.
I hope they get a long vacation after this, not having to worry about anything in in the line after their work, and
They have a lot of experience to pass on to the next crew who are going up as
They need to
well.
do a
めっ
lot
ちゃわ
of
かるめっちゃわかる
debriefing,
感
works
じだ
to be
とよ
done,
くわかる
Probably
not
not too
physically,
long of
maybe
rest.
mentally. Yes.
Just before they leave, the Shenzhou 13 crew moved most of the important cargo from the Tianzhou 3 cargo ship to the Tianhe
反転言わんの状態が安全第一で速度は重要ではありませんってことですよ。もう訳さなくてもわかる。
and redocking again. So the moving the cargoes to the Tianhe commodity will avoid the cases that if the redocking is failed, so we can still keep the resupplies to the next team.
What about the waste that these astronauts would have produced?
Well, you
in
may
the
notice
space
that
station?
several days
長
before
長
the
期の
Tianzhou
無
2
重
cargo
力
ship
環
has
境は
just
人間の骨格筋肉度し血管システムにマイナスの影響があります。
from the Shenzhou 12 crew and part from the Shenzhou 13 crew are installed
宇宙飛行士が
in
帰った後
the
に
Tianzhou 2 cargo
ただ
ship
ただの車内で
and
椅
be
子を
outfitted
用
to
意
the
しておきましたね。
South Pacific. What we call the Nemo point. The Nemo point is
地
a
上に降りる
point
とカ
in
プセ
the
ルが
South
安全でいい
Pacific
ですね。
which is
ね、カプセルに
thousands of
染
kilometers
み込んだ
from
ら
any land
溺れちゃう
of
も
the
ん
Earth.
ね。
And also they seldom have any ships or aircraft there, so it's safe enough for the deorbiting of the spacecraft. Usually, most of the cargo ships from other countries and also the stations are deorbited to this point.
So they
what
would
we
have
call a
left.
space trash field.
So they would have left the space station basically completely ready for the next crew to move in.
Good morning,
Waste
Priya.
included,
Good
nothing left in there
morning.
for them to have to deal with.
But actually speaking, the waste of the astronauts also
morning.
very
Those-
valuable
those-
for
those
scientific
are-
research,
those are how-
especially their experiment. Because you know that the influence of the outer space to
He
this
took
kind of place is also
Chinese
very helpful
English?
for us to
そうなの?
understand the, for
Really?
instance, the
Good
breeding of
English.
the microbes and also other scientific purposes.
So will this have to be brought back?
Not all of this, because the downloading capability of the Shenzhou spaceship is limited. Usually about 50
何の
kilograms.
ダウンロードキ
So
ロパスカル
remember
って
the
言っ
weight
た
of the
ね。
capsule
50キロ
also
パスカ
affects
ル
the trajectory of the return. So you know that everything is
Have to be
carefully
calculated
Ah,
to a
next.
T. Wang
That's
Yaping
happening.
coming out.
わー、カミングアウトいらっしゃい。あ、お帰り
she's
かな
her usual cheerful self, waving to the crowd waiting there.
来た。
Professor Young, how do you feel about seeing your friend back
女性
here
の方
on
です
Earth
か
for
ね
the first time in 6 months?
Yaping is still so energetic, like usual.
sliding down.
You can hear a lot of cheering for her.
Yeah, people shouting her name.
You can see the slider itself, and the astronaut slides down
Slider!
with the belt behind, so they're dragging it. So there's gently slide down and carried by 6 people onto the chair.
Oh, look at that huge bright smile.
She's just happy to be back. There's no mistaking that.
I believe
Nico,
the
Nico,
most
yeah.
happy person on the earth will be her daughter, Zhao Yunxi.
彼女の娘って言ったドーターって聞こえたけど娘がなんて言ったのかなわかんないけど
She has made so many firsts on this flight.
Yeah.
I mean, she had big dreams when she was little, growing up, to first become a
ワン
pilot,
さんワンさんワンさん
then a career
ワン
as an astronaut
ワンちゃ
in
ん
China's space program.
ワンヤ
And
ッ
for the
ピ
first time in 6 months,
Yeah.
someone to wave to.
ヤッピ
So 15 days she spent on the Shenzhou 10, and then now added to this 183 days. So she's
娘が
the
待っている
person
っ
who,
て
the
あー
Chinese
ハード
astronaut
ーターは
who's
聞
been
こえ
in
た
space
け
the
ど
longest.
彼女の娘は一
So
番
she now
嬉
keeps
しい
the
だろうと
longest
なるほどね
accumulated duration in China among all astronauts of China.
Record setter.
ヤッピー
王亚
さん
平你好，我是中央广播电视总台的
Good
记者
morning, Wang
欢迎
Yaping.
回来。
ワンヤ
I'm
ッ
a
ピー
journalist
さ
from
ん
CMG.
Wang
Welcome back.
Yaping-san.
After
Wang
this
Yaping-san.
special trip of 6 months, have you completed all the mission given by your daughter? And do you have any message to share with us all? It's been a trip to the space for more than 180 days, but we are not alone. because we have been cheered up by the messages of congratulations from President Xi Jinping, and we are accompanied by all the colleagues from our side. We are also welcomed by all the people and supported by them in this country. And now I have a message from my daughter. I'm back with all the stars collected for you.
ありがとうって言ってるね。全部は
Oh, that's heartwarming.
取れなかったけど。
Touching message then.
Absolutely.
ワンさんも、ワンヤピーさんも、小籠包にされて
I think
持ってかれちゃったね。
remember that as a mother, you know,
あ
being
ったかそうでいい
separated
ね、
from
そ
her
の
child
おく
for
る
this
み
long. I mean,
かわいら
that's
し
a
い
huge mental
女神だって
thing to
女
deal
神
with, isn't it?
女神様
But
な
she
の
can have video dialogue with her daughter very frequently.
As frequently as she wanted?
Yes.
Okay. That's good. That's good. I mean, she obviously had the full support of her family, her daughter, her husband.
Miss Huang Weifen, the chief designer of the astronaut system, also mentioned that during the Shenzhou 12 mission, Mr. Nie Haisheng called her one day during the flight. So
Out of the blue, on scheduled call.
not
So he's
not
the
on
commander of the last.
schedule.
星を運んだお母さんが帰ってきたってコメントありがとうございます
very happy, a very happy surprise.
And I suppose the next crew would want to meet them when the time is
まず
convenient,
イン
just
タ
to
ビュ
get
ー
a sense of what's in store.
星
for
を
them.
運ぶ
I
っ
mean,
て
obviously,
何
they all train
星
in
を運ぶって何星を運ぶ
as
って
similar circumstances as
彼
possible,
女の
but it's a
娘
different
さんは
story
彼
when
女が
you
戻ってき
actually
たことを
go
喜
on
んで
there.
くれると思い
They'll
ます
have a
よ
lot of practical tips to share.
Yeah.
小籠包移動
I mean, there
So
are things that you can't train for, I imagine, as well. You know, the
So as the introduction of the ground staff to the reporters, so the 3 astronauts will be in different ground vehicles.
What's the size of their living space in the Tiangong?
50 cubic meters.
りあちゃんお昼何食べる
So in the
ご
future,
つ
after
盛
the
り
construction, it will be extended to 110
ごつ盛
cubic
り
meters.
That includes your sleeping quarters, your work zones,
Yes.
experimental.
Yes,
Exactly.
zones as
But
well.
honestly
Yeah.
Speaking, the volume of the Tianzhou cargo ship is not included. And also, it will also increase the total volume of their living quarter. As I mentioned, the Japanese astronaut Koichi Wakata mentioned that she
What
sleeps
is
many
Tenshin
times
the mama?
in the experimental modules or in the cargo ships. So because it's very quiet there,
Tenshin the mama
it is also extended their total volume.
50 cubic meters, that's quite a hard
Tenshin the mama
concept
って
for a lot of people
何?
to try and visualize.
One
So.
hotel room,
女
but it's
神
a 3D.
星のお母
I
さ
mean, one
ん
of the experimental modules that are scheduled to be sent up this year could also double as the core module should emergencies happen, right? That's one of their functions when we send Mengtian and Wentian up there.
Exactly. You know that's the Tianhe
Exactly.
module plays a role as the center of the station. For instance, the environmental control, the living quarter, and also the communications, and also the data handling. But the Wentian has a very special role as a backup of the core module. So it also has a independent life support system to support, as we have already discussed, the life support for 6 crew members, and also another 3 bedroom as a private volume for each astronaut.
The EVAs
お母
that
さんが
they
星を子供
did
たち
when
の
they
プ
were
レゼントとして
on
受け
the
取る
space station, I think one of them
星を運ぶ
was using a robotic
星を
arm
運ぶ
to
ってめっちゃかっ
control
こよくない
The
That's a
robotic
big
arm is
advancement
to
for-
help the astronaut to move from one place to another
すごく素敵な
more
表
fast
現だよ
and
ね
more convenient.
ママ
Moreover, with the help of the robotic arm, the
天使
astronaut can take very heavy instruments together with them. You know that usually when they
星を
moving
運ぶ
on the surface of the station by themselves, during the last EVA of the Shenzhou 13 crew, they
星を運ぶ
also
お母さん
tested to trying to
星を
take
積む
something, take some objects together with them. But that will be very difficult. But with the
Take
help
stories?
of the robotic arm, that will be more easier.
So this will all help with the advancing and building the space station, right?
Yeah.
And completing
And
the
also,
final
we
stages.
should emphasize that the EVAs performed by
比喩
the
と
Shenzhou
褒め
12
言
crew
葉
and
The
the Shenzhou
last of the
Mr. Ye Guangfu.
Ye Guangfu
比喩と褒
is
め言
now
葉あ
exiting the capsule.
来た来た来た来た3人
They're pulling him out.
3人目出てきた。
He's the youngest crew member.
And it's the first
娘と
time
の約
for him
束
to
の
be
こ
in
と、お
space.
母さん星取ってきてねってこと？めっちゃ素敵じゃん。宇宙行って星掴んで
He's only 1 year
娘にお土産として持ってくるってこと？
Mr. Ye Guangfu is very special. You know that we have a tradition that we don't release the names of our astronauts before their flight missions. But Ye Guangfu is an exception. This is because he attended joint training with ESA before. So his name was known by us several years before his missions. So this is a very special case.
光？じゃない
And
かな。
because he was trained in Europe and he can speak English well, so I believe that he will be a very good choice for the future joint missions with other countries.
And for the 2 more missions this year, will it always be a combination of veterans and new astronauts?
Yes, this time 2 veterans, Mr. Zhai Zhigang and Yaping, are all veterans who have flight missions before. Mr. Ye Guangfu is a newcomer.
光合ってる。
That's
うしょ。
a good way to explain
うしょやった。
This is
光
because
だ
you
っ
know
て。
that's also a similar configuration of
Go on,
the Shenzhou
光だね。
top
光だ
mission
よね。
because these 2 missions are too important for us.
And veterans are
元気に
needed
掴んできたみたい。
to the construction of the station because they're not there to,
よかったよ
just
かった。
to enjoy the microgravity environment. They have to build their house.
Right. The spacesuits that they're wearing currently, are those boots weighted in any way? The boots that they're wearing on their spacesuits, would they have weights?
No, these are not for walking. These are
Guang.
just for
Guang は？
microgravity
フーが何？
Yes.
光夫你好，
Good morning,
グアン
Ye
フ
Guangfu.
あ、
I'm with
頑張ってきますね。
So it's your first spatial trip, and it's been more than 6 months. How do you feel now when you're back on Earth?
どんな気持ちですか？
For
今
my
どんな感
first
じです
spatial
か？
trip, and it's a long one, which has lasted for half a year, that is a challenge for my side. At this moment,
半
I've
年間の
also
トライ
made
が
my
挑戦
dream
でし
come
た。
true to fly to the space. I can report back to
宇
my
宙を飛ぶという夢が
motherland.
叶いました。
Now I'm feeling very good. Please don't worry for me. And in the future, we will always follow the instructions and calls of our country, the CBC Central Committee, and our people. We will never let you down.
谢谢谢谢，北
Thank
京
you.
见。
See you in
谢谢。
Beijing.
ありがとう。
Now we already have 5 astronauts from the second batch of Chinese astronaut teams. Mr. Chen Dong, Mr. Ye Guangfu, Mr. Tang Hongbo, and also together with Ms. Liu Yang and Ms. Yaping. 5 astronauts of second
2位は叶える。
mainly are born in
グアンは光。
also.
は
So I believe that
トミ
these
ハク
astronauts
どっ
will
ちどっ
play
ち
a very major role in the future operation of China's space station because they are
叶
already
える
have
光
the
光
flight
は一緒だけど違
experience
うんだ
and also
漢
they are
字
still
が違う
very
人がい
young.
るね、どっちだろう
Do they mean that they could possibly be going
Yeah, go
again
for it.
after the space station is completed by the end of this year?
ワンフー
Well, I don't believe that Shenzhou 12 and Shenzhou 13 crew will
Guan,
attend the Shenzhou 14
yeah,
or
yeah,
15
means
missions
leave.
This year
Leave.
because the Shenzhou 14 and the 15 mission, the crew has already been selected. And
What are future endeavors?
usually we will have an interview more than 1 or 2 years for one astronaut in different missions because they need the readaptation and also other trainings for different missions. And also, I believe that during the Shenzhou 14 missions and Shenzhou 15 missions, we will also have veterans and
叶えるは
new
葉っぱ
recruitments.
葉っぱなんだ
What will happen now to
葉っぱなんだ
the
ね全然
return
違う
capsule?
意味じゃん
Well, as we have already discussed, the ground staff, especially
Tommy,
those from the engineering
なるほどね
department, will seal the
光
hatch,
トミ
and also it will
反
be
対と反
reopened
対
in
で意
Beijing
味が
in
違
the
うんだ
space city.
ね
Will be
かっ
shipped
こ
back
いい
to
で
Beijing
も
for engineering
グ
purposes.
ワングワンかっこいいグワングワンフーイさん
This pretty much
名
concludes
字
a
が
very
葉っぱ葉っ
nerve-wracking
ぱが名
morning
字
for all of us. Now, all of China's 3 astronauts from the Shenzhou 13 mission have now exited the re-entry capsule and are now being transported
私は夢を叶えたいって言ったら
on that
私は夢を葉っぱってこと
medical
ってこと
for
じゃあ叶えるはなんて言うの
quarantine in
中国語で
Beijing.
But I'm very eager to know what Yaping will post on WeChat for the first time after
Please
after
do
coming back.
share with us when she
Absolutely.
does post.
葉っぱの簡体字が叶えるへえ 叶えるって感じはないんだ。実現になるんだ。実現になるんだね。なるほど。
I can still remember
面
the
白い。
last post on WeChat.
全然違う意味じゃん。中国語漢字だったら分かりやすいとか言ったけど違ったわ。
And there is the picture of the launch site, and also is a
very small dome
of the astronauts with a
very
own designated medical care vehicles now.
へえ、叶えは実現になるんだ。
各号注意，我是北京。后续，东风按计划组织。
三富さん。日本語に訳すと、よう三富さん。
We will kick off the transfer of our 3
三富さんかっこいいね。
Wish you a very pleasant and smooth journey.
言葉で叶える。叶える光る。トム。かっこいい。
More bumpy than the one they just had back home, so hopefully everything will be smooth from here and they will recover and recuperate as fast as possible.
素晴らしいです。
It was indeed an incredible job they did up there in space for 6 months.
That is a long time, and the longest yet for Chinese astronauts.
So they said something about dealing with the re-entry capsule now on site.
Yes, on site they will do some handling of the capsule, like the close of the hatch, preparation for the shipment, and like passivation of all equipment and facilities, so that it's ready for shipment and land transport back to Beijing. So that, but the capsule itself, as well as the astronaut, probably will go to the base first and make some preparations before they are airlifted to back to Beijing, and the astronauts then will enter the rehabilitation phase.
Could the capsule end up in a museum someday?
Yes, we've already a few capsules that has in exhibitions in Beijing and throughout Beijing.
ミュージアムに置かれるって意味はなかった？
So the capsule starting from Shenzhou 1 to Shenzhou 4 has been experimental capsules that is in display in different locations. And from Shenzhou 5 has always been manned missions and all successful. The capsules are back in museums and facilities.
それはあれだね、なんか
Once they're studied carefully, they're
それは映画だね、映画。
education and
新海さんの
awareness purpose.
What do you think they'll be
こ
looking
のカプセル
for?
展示するのか。なんかそんなこと言ったらミュージアムって言ったからね。
There are many factors. The
バイバイ、
instruments
あ、
and
バイバイ、ありが
the
とう
onboard
ね。
parameters, the exposed
これで
skin
終わ
of
りか
the
な？
capsule, so that they have to study the burning process and to perfect that capsule and materials, as well as the hatch. We had
キャンカプセル1回だけの使用なんですね。なんかそうみたいだね。このカプセルはなんかミュージアムに行きますかって言ったら、Yes, yes って言ってた気がするから。
One of the parachute was not deployed, so there was a parachute cabin as well as the backup parachutes. Many factors and technical
これ
parameters.
できましたよっていうことでした。
It's just such a happy ending for
さあ、
all
リ
of us
プレイ
today.
したいよ
I
ね。
mean, we've had these two missions, Shenzhou 12 and
ちょっと見たいよ
Shenzhou
ね。
13, pretty much back on back. You know, the Shenzhou 12 came back in September, and this one was launched in October. And this year we expect 2 more
Stop it! Stop the
manned
start! I want
missions
to
happen
stop the
this year. We're gonna have a
stream.
lot more.
Stop.
But every time.
スターリプレイできないんだよね。これどうしたらリプレイできるの？ちょっと待ってね。リプレイ別のになるかもしれない。英語じゃないかも。いい？それでも。待ってね。なんかミスったわ。ちょっと待ってて。お？またリア消えちゃった。CCTV オッケーオッケーオッケー。CCTV CCTV 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 13？ 13？ どっちがいいの？CCTV13？ 13？ 13がいい？リプレイは終わった。でもこの辺から見れるんじゃない？オッケーオッケーオッケー。YouTube の配信はリプレイできない。オッケーオッケーオッケー。よいしょ。天気予報がだいたい読めるって。確かに。確かに確かに。ただいま。ただいま。ただいま。リプレイ数はリプレイ。リプレイリプレイリプレイリプレイ。これが始まったとこですね。こんな感じで。おかえり、おかえり、ありがとう。この辺かな。飛ばし飛ばし見ていこうかな。よし、見ていこう。飛んできて、車が、声がない？
让这样的一个天气变得更加的这个预测变得更加的精确。其实我们的气象人员也是花了很多的努力，搜集了
I can't understand the Chinese.
在东风
Sorry.
4月份的天气的资料来进行比对，来寻求相应的规律，给我们航天员创造一个更好的回家的气象条件。
I can't understand what she says.
预报啊，一会儿
何言ってるかわかんない。何言ってるかわかんない。
预報每一次的決定是靠什麼？
まあでも中国語の練習としてもいいかもしれない。トンプ、着、東の風、着陸上地、人、まれ、視界開けている。視界は開けている。視野は開けている。
可以说是做足了准备。这种准备呢，不仅是大家看到的这些特种
空中、地面，
也是在我们的训练上。因为我们尽管希望我们的神舟13号能够一切顺利哈，能够离我们理论的中国越近越好，但是我们不得不把所有的有可能出现的问题全部考虑进去，这就包括，比如说，如果没有落在我们所现在处的这个戈壁
，6分18秒，
こんな感じで着陸に向けて頑張ってこうね
落点纬度
降りてくるという感じですね。
36分25秒。
住んでる人が少ない。なんかね、雰囲気で人はわかる。漢字で書いてるとわかる。東大南北ならわかる。トンナンシャーペイ、トンナンシャーペイ、白髪ちゃん。トンプ。神舟13号。
蒙氏。
满州？
华山明白。
変開落ち点第1号発射。
播报，他们在重复回答收到的名字。
こんな感じで帰ってきてて、両ビット番号あります。降りてきてて。ちょっとよくわかんないとこは飛ばしますね。多分場面的にあんまりこう変わらないところ飛ばしていきます。はい。今両ビット番をして降りてきてるところですね。そしてブラックアウトペリオドを超えてここかな。
外边形成一个等离子壳，会有掌声的。那现在呢，我们大家都很淡定。
这个比较这个。
因刚才这个叶光富在说了一句，说这个载荷在逐渐增加，就是随着我们进入稠密大气层，那么它一个减速过程，对人来讲就是一个一个过载增加的一个过程。说这个时候呢，航天员在上边会感受到这个过载会逐步的加大，这里边会伴随着一些震动和一些噪声。我记得进入稠密大气层的时候，你会听到我们的返回舱会压得咯吱咯吱的一些声音。然后呢，看到我们的舷窗外会烧得
これが見たかったんだよ。めっちゃ綺麗だよねこれ。
但是身体感受到的温度会上升。
对，它这个没有很大的，刚才我讲到了，因为它有它的防护层和我们一开始的热控的遇冷的一些设置，在里边航天员不会感受到温度变化很大啊，不会影响它的舒适程度的，对。所以一会儿它也会进入了这个黑障区，因为这种跟大气的摩擦会在我们的返回舱外边形成一个等离子壳，有可能会造成我们的通讯的这个短暂的一个中断。
流れ星ですね，流れ星。
我们现在看到的是光学吊舱拍摄到的画面哈。
对。所以现在我们讲我们的这个搜救的这个各种这个仪器设备，已经非常的完备了。
这是来自酒泉卫星发射中心的画面。
对。
着陆场系统提供的画面。
对，这也是我们把这个着陆场放到东风的一个方面吧。就这里边它的这个各种。
英語読めませんが、日本語は少し意味推測できます。ありがとう。漢字で書いてあると外だね。そうだね。リアもそうだよ。
神舟飛船。
綺麗だよね。めっちゃ綺麗。
着陆场系统所在的地方。
This image is from Jichuan。
现在距离地面应该是在100多公里的，
大概是应该在100公里了，
对。
马上就要载入大气层，进入黑障区。
对。
但是在这样的高度，我们的光学吊舱都已经能够发现
能看到了，对。
Jichuan。
在回来的过程当中。 最大的时候要承受多少个 G 的过载？
我们返回的时候，正常的这个升力曲线的话，过载并不是很大，大概在3.2到3.5个 G 的这么一个G 值，它走的是一个返回曲线。峰值的时候会达到这么一个3到3.5左右的一个过载，对，它会比上升的时候过载还会小一点。
実はこれ主線
但是呢，返回的時候
発射場ロケットの打ち上げしてるところからの中継ですってことだよね。ここに帰ってるからってことだよね。
特别是手势飞行的话，那么还是有一定的冲击的。100km
って本当？いやいいバイ聞き取れたってこと？
您刚才说的是开伞的过程，对于航天员来讲，还是
リアいいバイはわかるよ。
因为
它
不单单是一个
1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8、10、11バイ。
在开伞的时候，它有几个过程。比如说它的引导伞、减速伞、主伞的收口、主伞的这个收口打开，它几个过程。
なんていうのそのショーの名前？
它的开伞的这个过载的方向是不一样的。所以在上边回来我像你自己东拉西拽的感觉，就是开伞一下这个方向拽一下，就是突然间一个过载，可能下一个可能就不是这个方向。
麻将か。麻将は
现在我们航天员大家都知道是怎么回事了，所以首次的时候还是比较让人紧张的过程。
回收主开关通。
对，这是一个很关键的。
My name is 宇推くりあ。
航天员需要补发的一个指令。
My name is 宇推くりあ。
双补完成。青山回收1号双补完成。
速度还是很快。
现在有没有进黑障区啊？
现在我没看它这高度是到了多少。 它大概进黑障区，大概就在80公里、40公里这么个区间，哎，对，大概有几分钟，将近
80到40公里左右会进入到黑障区。黑障区的时候会出现通信的中断，
对，有可能，对对。
英語だとクリア薄い ？Yes， クリア薄い。
应该就是在黑障区。
从时间这个角度来讲。
对。
5-4-1 clear。
刚才您给我们回忆了一下这个大伞打
リアの名前素敵。嬉しい、ありがとう。いろんな意味を込めてあります。本当にたくさんの意味を。
感受反而没有那么难受。
因为返回落地的时候呢，一个是你心里有准备，就是我快落地了，不但是能够看，
何語が
我们这个预报上都会看到，你会身体会自然而然会有一个它的这个准备。 啊，全身肌肉紧张去准备接地，这么一个还有心理准备。开伞的时候呢，特别是我飞行那会儿，因为没有前边，任何人会给你介绍，所以你会不知道它是一个这么个状态，所以会感到紧张。
我们现在看到的，因为是从光学吊舱上拍摄的画面，所以看的不是特别的清楚哈。 但其实现在应该是。
あれてみて、フランス語。わかんない。
像我们真是像炼钢炉里边那个钢水。
でも中国語わかるんでしょ？
然后对。
真金不怕火炼。
对，上次聂海生说了这一句。
看着这个舷窗外边不但这么红，还会有一些很亮的。 东西从我们的舷窗旁划过，就是我们
これ綺麗だよね。この辺綺麗だからめっちゃ見る。
热量带走，这是我们一个防热的一个。
手で受け取れるとかさすがですわ。
哦，现在应该已经。
フランス語ってどこから？出てこなかったから。
哦，准備好感受重力的感覺。
一番ありえなさそうな単語を言ってみた。
說好久沒有感受重力的感覺了。
那其實對於我想對於所有的參研參試人員來講，出黑障區這個時候大家是不是也可以？
これドロッグシュートで見ません？ドロッグシューター。
10公里通
，10公里通就是我們的主傘要開傘。
解説員のことは戦場の初代飛行士。へえ、そうなんだ。
引導傘已經開了。
大喜利？そんな感じ。
引導傘還是減速傘？這個。
クラリスムとかどう？
減速傘調掉。
で、ドロッグシュートからパラシュートが出てました。めっちゃ見応えあったね。
回收2號，跟速正常。
这个收口再打开，这是要过程。
打开的过程好美。
パラシュー。
这个时候严格来讲，我们应该有掌声了，因为这个代表着我们航天员啊，
北京明白
落地了，对。
周三打开的过程不仅仅很美，而且更重要的是
彼らが重力を感じてから結構経ったよねって書いてる。ありがとう。あとなんかタンク投棄するんだよ。タンクじゃないわ。なんか
还笑了一下。
投棄するのかな。シールド投棄あると思う。
晃悠悠的。
对对。
晃悠悠。晃悠悠。
比较稳定哈。
What is what？晃悠悠。
对，
各号注意，
过程航天
我是北京，
没有问题的。
下面通报返回舱第3次落点预报，落点经度东经1洞洞度，动6分54秒。54度，6分54秒。落点纬度北纬41度3拐分，动1秒。北纬41度3拐分，动1秒。第3次落点预报，
第3次
变成垂直悬挂，就是这个抛大底以后。
晃悠悠，揺れる。あ、悠悠，晃悠悠，揺れる，揺れる，揺れる。
落点经度的预报。
揺れる，揺れる，晃悠悠，悠悠悠悠。
现在这个精度已经是相当的精确了。
揺れる，揺れる，悠悠，悠悠。
其实还是因为
悠啦悠啦悠啦悠啦，
放
悠悠。
底的过程，它为了防止这个有个
啊，送个佛悠悠悠，
在5公里左右抛大底。
然后呢，我们的返回舱就从斜挂变成直挂，对。
我们的神舟飞船要从390多公里的高度。然后一下子要降落到海拔1000米哈，约等于0了。这样的一个落差，然后速度也是从
タンクじゃないシールド投棄ってどこだっけ？焼くとグワングワンになるよね。なるよね。ヨーヨーするね。ヨーヨー。
刚才我们看到的
6公里头
开伞哈，这是重要的。
5 kilometers point the ground。
对，我们发动机要点火，再有我们要很正常的会把我们
シールド取ったのいつ？もう取った？
这是一个下面的比较2个关键的。那当然这里边我们还有一个着陆前还有一个座椅提升的一个关键动作这样的话它就是会在落地的时候去一个很好的一个缓冲。除了我们的反对发动机以外，那么还有一个座椅提升之后，它的一个缓冲，这个冲击力会吸收掉。
现在下落的速度大概是多少？
这个基本上速度就不大了这就不大了，主要是靠我们这个伞和这个现在基本上它不叫自由落体了，就是在我们这个降落伞的这种阻力下下降，是速度并不是很大。
めっちゃ綺麗でしたね、本当。わー、素敵だったな。これシールドシールド。
各号注意，我是北京。
見た？
防热大底已抛。
シールド落ちたの見た？
好，雄鹰空中分队马上可以收拢了。
猛士。
刚才猛士一空中分队马上可以收拢了。
猛士。
大底抛掉了，看到了。大底抛掉了，看到了。大底抛掉了。
Stop！ here。シールドですね。多分落としてるんですね。ポンって。これそのまま落ちていくのかな？
看到了
大底抛掉了。
各号注意，我是北京，防热大底已抛。
好，
雄鹰
抛。雄鹰空中分队马上可以收拢了。
猛士。
这一会儿我们也很激动，这个对我们的战友
地面分队马上也可以收拢了。刚才猛士一直是等在18公里处，这是一个安全区域的边界。
返回舱收拢飞行，报告完毕。
他们就可以行动了。
空中分队可以。
北京明白。
地面也可以行动了。
提升。
双层跟踪结束。前からしてるのかな？なんかそうかもね。
报告一下身体状况。
神舟指导报告，座椅提升手动自定义发出，座椅提升完成。
座椅提升，对，这是我刚才讲到的。
北京明白。
这个座椅的设计有什么讲究吗，徐主任？
这个座椅他们这个返回的时候他们是有一个半卧位的角度，那么这个角度呢，也是整个
判定以外，
胸背下的整个重力加速度的耐受力是最大的，所以这样它有一个包括座椅提升包括
北京明白。
防熱対策。なるほど。防熱対策っていうの？そのヒートシールドのこと。
过载能够最低，对人体的这个损伤呢，整个这个最小。
而且他们其实是背部朝下的，跟我们想象当中不一样，他们其实是背部朝下倒着做的感觉，这是为什么？
因为人体刚才我说了，就是这个胸背向的整个这个承受这个加热度的能力是最大的。
ちょっと飛ばす？大丈夫？ふわふわふわふわ。ふわふわふわふわ。
这是在把我每个人都不一样的一个腹型坐垫，在这里边来去让你跟身体座椅和身体有一个更好的一个密切接触。这样的话，在承受冲击过载的时候，
推進剤を出すシーンがありました。
的这个损害会降到最低。那当然是刚才讲到的，我们的这个座椅提升，它也是很关键的一个动作，会在着陸前把座椅提升起来，在着陸的时候，它会有一个很好的把这个
クラゲみたいに見えるね。クラゲっぽいよね。あ、出た。わ
ー。这是在把我们返回舱里边剩余的燃料给它放掉。
把剩余的燃料
放掉，对，所以这个就是在它
変解だ気化防出白在排除多様燃料燃料余ったやつ排除余った燃料を排除します。何用のやつですか？船用の多分こう RCS かな。こう向きを変える用の船のやつです。白いよ、なんだろう。煙のことかな。ちょっとこれさ、打ってみて。ちょっといやわかんない。でもこう変解っていうのは回収だから、防湿だから緊急脱出用ってこと？カエル天とか打ちたい。カエル天とか打ちたい、わかる。ここに燃料の余ったやつを排除しました。なんて読むの？余った燃料を気化させて排出。ここ防湿って何？脱出のこと？白いこれ煙かな？白煙付近変解で上に変解があるから、ここにも変解があるから、13号のリターンでしょ？これリターンってこと？変解はじゃあ、帰ってくる。リターンバックティワース。変解。センキュー！Google 翻訳。
返回舱附近冒出白烟，是在排除多余燃料。
白烟，はい。白い煙。リターンモジュール付近から出る白い煙は余分な燃料を排出するため。ね、なんかね、そう、意味はね、なんか結構わかる。変解船ってことか。リターンモジュールってことか。で、付近のってことか。で、こう出ているってことか。白い煙が、帰ってくるカプセルの付近から出ています。それは、余った燃料を排除するため。オッケーオッケーオッケーオッケー。バイエン
返回舱附近
返回舱が帰ってくるリターンカプセル？返回舱リターンカプセル？
返回舱附近冒出白
冒出がピュー排出冒出でバイオンが白い煙モワモワシューバイ反追餐附近は付近だよね。まんまだよね。反追餐附近毛臭が出るピューバイエンが白い煙シーザイはそれはってことかな。パイチューは排除する。はいはい。どういう燃料
返回舱附近冒出白烟，是在排除多余燃料。
燃料。返回舱附近冒出白烟，是在
燃料。
返回舱附近冒出白烟，是在排除多余燃料。在 is in 白烟是在 is ing なんとかはなんとかしている。
返回舱附近冒。
返回舱附近冒。返回舱附近冒。
返回舱附近冒。
返回舱附近冒。返回舱附近冒出。返回舱附近冒出。
返回舱附近
冒出白烟。白烟是在返回舱附近冒出白烟，是在排除多余燃料。返回舱附近冒出白烟，是在排除多余燃料。燃料 OK还too long 燃料OK もう一回じゃあリプレイ再开します。
它回来还要调汁的一些燃料要放掉，
井类的，
这是有毒的。
控制发动机的剩余的燃料要把它放掉。
这是在着陆前把座椅提升起来，在着陆的
うまいって、ありがとう。有害ですだって、有害。
减少航天員承受过载。
有害な燃料だって。燃料、有害燃料。
剩余的燃料给它放掉。
燃料。
所以这个就是
燃料，聞こえた。
还要调汁的一些燃料要放掉。
井类的，
这是有毒的。
控制发动机的剩余的燃料要把它放掉。
有害燃料。
不错啊。
有害。
这个我刚才讲到了，这个伞一开之后，
燃料 is 有害。
也很放心了。
对。
到时候注意通报一下高度。对。还有切伞的这块。
燃料在有害。
在你显示这吧？对。
三个人在聊上天了啊。
只有叶光富还
有害燃料。
对，
这着陆的这一下子哈，其他两位都经历过了，都有经验。
有落地的出击过载跟这个天气有很大的关系。刚才前线的记者也在讲，如果风要是大的话，它会落地会比较重。
さすりゃ。
看这个
中国語勉強しよう。
这里看着好像不大，其实有1200平方米。
对，很大的。
但是它收起来很小，只有200升，可以塞到200升的这个伞包里哈。
对。因为叠伞是一个很精细的一个工作，然后在叠伞过程的每一个环节都会有视频会把它录下来的。对，因为很多人去叠着一个伞，这个过程我们每一次飞行航天员到现场去看的，会看的，对。
航天员还要亲自去现场看叠伞，
看叠伞。对，
叠伞要多少时间啊？
它这个有工序时间很长，有很多的工序，然后有很多的这个我们的工程人员在做这项工作。
这个伞而且是薄如蝉翼啊。
对，这是一个保证航天员安全返回的一个非常关键的一个。
虽然是薄如蝉翼，但是牢不可破。
学びたい場合はドーリンゴを使ってみてね。わかった。
摇摆。
之所以薄，也是因为考虑到它的重量。
じゃあドーリンゴで勉強するわ。
带上天的物资，所有的分量都得计算好。
对，但它强度很高的。
パラシュートの旬の方法喋ってる。Talking about parachute。
这是叶光富。
叶光富。
说开伞的时候， 摆动的比较厉害。
对，有些线性加速度。
从10米高度显示到接地，也就是1.5秒。
好奇心旺盛の赤ちゃんとか言われてますよ。
就是
ほう
这个时候他们要做什么样的准备？身体
好
姿态上
一定要就刚才讲到了，全身肌肉紧张啊，保持一个很好的状态，准备接地。这个冲击。
パラシュートの折りたたみの方法。
抗核动作。
对，这个落地这一下还比较重，蹲了一下。
但是好在有这个反推发动机，能够把速度减到是2米每秒之内
差不多，对，2米到2.5米吧，这样的一个速度。还有刚才我们讲到了我们的。
でっかいパラシュートはこの中に入れづらいから畳むっていうと畳み方の話をしている。そうだよね、畳み方にも工夫してあるもんね。ここら辺で落ちますね。ありがとうプラネットちゃん、長い時間配信しちゃったからありがとうね、ずっとコメントしてくれて嬉しかったよ、本当にありがとう。
这个时候人坐在里边是什么感觉啊？
本当に助かった。
有点忽忽悠悠的这么个感觉
啊，
对，有一点，对。
但是对于航天员来说，这都不是什么事儿了。
对，特别是现在这个状态，因为刚才看到了我们3个航天员在上面也这个状态很轻松。
好奇，
那下一步有点考验的就是我们返回之后一个再适应对航天员来讲，毕竟我们这个乘组是第一个在太空中工作生活了6个月的一个乘组，这样的话他们在返回之后落地之后的重力再适应啊，会比前面飞行
毎秒2メートル。
还要更严格一点。那这样的话呢，对他们来讲，还是有一个再适应过程。那么这个过程可能，特别是落地之后，
リプレイが終わったらこの配信もありますね。
可能这个效应就出来了，出来了。
わあ、もうずっと眺めていたいね、これ楽しいな。
当然这次我们也针对这个长时间的飞行，返回之后也做了很多的调整，尽可能的让航天员能够尽快的来去适应这个重力的这个再适应过程。
因为马上落地以后，意见医保人员马上就会进行检查身体哈。针对6个月长期驻留以后归来，你们有些什么特殊的准备吗？
这个实际上，对于整个工程来讲啊，我们医保啊来讲，现在目前我们的工作才完成了一半。就是说，整个从这个发射场到飞控到着陆场，这是我们整个这个全程的这个医学保障工作。那么之后还有我们6个月的这个后恢复期，6个月的后恢复期呢，实际上我们主要就是这个分这个3个阶段去完成。那么尤其在第1阶段，我们这个隔离恢复，那么重点还是促进它整个的进行一个身体机能啊和各个生理功能状态的这个再调整啊，尽快的、合理的、科学的回到这个飞行前的一些这个生理基线。那么呢？其实我们的后恢复工作呢，某种程度上讲，从这个飞行前，从这个飞行前，这个在轨这个返回前1个月，我们就开始积极的准备了，包括刚才
エアロスペース関連のコンテンツは無限に見られるね。本当だよね。無限に見てられそう。
整个的这个
1時間の時差があります。で、They're talking about the recovery。リカバリー。なるほど。回収について話してるんですね。
心血管和前庭神经体液。整个这几个方面的一个重力再适应。
なるほどね。
那么之后，实际上重力再适应呢，它有一个广义的，那还包括骨骼、肌肉、运动、精细动作、平衡功能等等啊，整个一个重力再适应。所以这个重力再适应呢，有可能呢，要持续1周啊，或者稍微更长的一个时间啊，更长的一个时间。
刚才已经有一个画面，我们看到地面分队哈，搜索回收的地面分队正在赶往落区。现在我们的目标都是舱落人道，
基本上，特别是现在就比较正常的这个情况下，应该说它和理论落点差距不会太大的。
像上一次神舟12号落下来的时候就特别的精准哈。
对，
在预定的着陆中心只有几百米，
这是基本上
10.8环的
对，
这个精度啊，
是最精准的了啊，最精准的。
现在我们看这个。返回舱的姿态非常好哈，
非常好，
大底朝下。
对。
青山跟踪结束。
1週間以上バランス感覚とか測る？
青山也是。
なるほどね。
测控站的代号。
回收1号跟踪结束。回收1号跟踪结束。
English Live はね、なんかリプレイができなくて English Live can't do the replays。
我们不停的会听到跟踪结束。然后下一个就是发现目标，这其实就是一个测控站在进行接力。
对，包括我们这个着陆场的这个一些搜救的一些分队，在这进行一个回应和报告。
现在是空中分队的摄像机镜头拍摄到的画面。
对。
像上次神舟12号着陆的时候，是返回舱落地才1分钟，直升机已经飞到了上空。
对。
2分钟已经落地了。然后马上3分钟之後、人已經出現在了
そうですか。そうなんですよ。
リアルタ
イムでは英語で見てました。
对。这个指挥机已经目視到了。
通信してますね、なんか。中の様子もわかんのかな。
返回舱第4次落点预报，落点精度。
見えてきましたね。ヘリコプターからの映像かな。
动9分43秒，东京1洞洞度动9分43秒。落点纬度北纬41度39分11秒，北纬41度。
啊，这个鼓掌了，我们已经看到、听到大厅里在鼓掌了。对。
返回舱着陆，
稳稳的落地。
このペラペラなんだね、なんかね。ただの布。
北京明白。北京第4次落点预报已发出，雄鹰。
着陸。
3已经切了。
This says the helicopter will arrive at the landing spot within 3 minutes. 3分で着陸地点に着きますと言ってると。ありがとうございます。はい、こんな感じで着陸でした。リプレイ見てくれてありがとうございます。
哇，太棒了！
华山，
我看刚才好像是在直立，我们再好好仔细看一下。
おかえりなさい、おかえりなさい。
但是这次看来，他下来的时候，这姿态就非常稳。
对，他跟他这个侧风大小有关系。对，哎，直立。
すごいですよね、かっこよかったね。
非常难得的。
对，这是应该是我
第二次。
北京明白。
神六那一次。
东风，我是北京。
这是第2次。
东风到。
哦，太棒了。
わー、映画みたい。めっちゃ映画みたい。こんな感じでした。はい、お疲れ様でした。ちょっとここから少しだけ飛ばさせてくださいね。こんな感じで着陸した後近づいて、いろいろ検査して、旗立てて、
温度对于航天员们
こんな感じね、旗立てたりとかして、
目前看还可以。
検査をして。
可以的，
对，这块我们都准备了。经过整个，
こんな感じで進んでいきましたね。
这样的一个直立的状态，对于我们的航
上面医健医保人员在上面进行这个整个吊救出伤过程中的一个保护，对航天员还包括对我们港务员的一个保护。同时这侧呢，你看这个面对我们这个方向的，就是一个相当于是个滑道，这样呢，我们这个
里边的设备。
こうやって出てくるという感じでした。皆さんありがとうございました。ちょっとじゃあね、写真だけ撮りましょうか。リアのこの服も多分なかなかもう見られないと思うので、これが最後かと思うので、一緒に写真撮影をして終わりにしたいと思います。
然后对，那么还有一个座椅提升。
动度动6分54秒。
询问啊，一些询问，
进展似乎比神舟12号那一次，也来，
距离落点17，
一件医保机还有才1分钟，直升机
这时候就要切足，
这样就非常的有，
这个返回都会这样的。
所以一件医保机还有
就说明落地的是这个冲击，这是第2次。
东风到。
对，它跟它这个侧风大小有
关系。
哎，直立。
よし、じゃあリアも立ちますかね。夜間と一緒に撮ろう、夜間と一緒に。これで一緒に撮りたい。よいしょ。よいしょ。よいしょ。 いんじゃない？ノット夜間っぽいよね、でもこれ。夜間を持つ少女、夜間を持つ。リア帰還成功。サイズ感？そんなサイズ感か。サイズ感って言われちゃう。じゃあもう確かに夜間っぽくはあるけどね。かわいい、ありがとう。What is it? パンパンパン。How? Hi. Hi. Are you alright? Hi. はい、ただいま。帰れますよ。よしよし。よしよしよしよし。よしよしよしよしよしよしよし。ただいまー。よいしょ。じゃあね、次。
这时候就要切主伞了啊！
来讲，现在目前我们的工作才完。
こんなのもいいかもね。とかかな。あとは だね。これそうだって、そんな遠すぎて、もう解像度荒いっしょ。遠すぎてさ、近づくか、そしたら。よし、こんなもんかな。
80公里、70-80公里到40公里这么个区间，外边形成一个等离子壳啊，
过载比
伴随着一些震动，
发射的地方，同时也是着陆。
正常的这个生理曲线的话，
快どこかな。宇宙ステーション内の映像？そうそうそう、宇宙ステーション内の映像だね、最初の映ってたのは。結構検索したら出てくるよ。
过载并不是很大，大概在3.2到3.5个 G 的这么一个G值，它走的是一个返回曲线，峰值的时候会达到这么一个3.2到3.5左右的一个过载。对，它会比上升的时候过载还会小一点啊，小一点。
比上升的时候
对会小一点，小一点。但是呢，返回的时候呢，在有几个过程，像刚才讲到的开伞过程，对航天员来讲，特别是首次飞行的话，那么还是有一定的冲击的。
红光跟踪结束。红光跟踪结束。
はい、こんな感じかな。
刚才说的是开伞的过程，对于航天员来讲还是冲击比较大。
对对，因为它不单单是一个过载的感受，还有一个自己的感受。
回收2号，
我们知道在开伞的时候，它有几个过程，比如说它的引导伞、减速伞、主伞的收口、主伞的这个收口打开，它几个过程，特别是在有风大的情况下，那么它的开伞的这个过载的方向是不一样的。所以在上边我后来回来我讲这个返回的时候，就像你自己东拉西拽的感觉，就是开伞一下这个方向拽一下，就是突然间一个过载，可能下一个可能就不是这个方向了。所以航天员在上边会这样。但是现在我们航天员大家都知道是怎么回事了，所以作为首次的时候，还是比较让人紧张的过程。对，
回收主开关通。
对，这是一个很关键的一个指令，这也是航天员需要补发的一个指令。
あれとしていた中国の元宇宙飛行士さん、元じゃないか、ごめん。初めてのあれ戦争の初だっけ。すごい、雲も見えてるんだこれ。
现在看到这个速度还是很快的。
现在有没有进黑障区啊？
现在我没看它这高度是到了多少。它大概进黑障区，大概就在80公里、70-80公里到40公里这么个区间，哎，对，大概。
これ良かったですね。
到40公里左右。
無事に帰還してくれてよかったです。
一个是你心里有准备，然后伞，那么这主伞现在开伞了，它的这个。
先しようかな。 皆さん今日もありがとうございました。めちゃくちゃ長い時間配信しましたけど、ついてこれましたか？はい、3時間にわたる配信でしたけど、本編も結構長かったのでね、リプレイもちょっと長めになっちゃったけど、楽しかったですね。結構見応えがあって、中国語も勉強できてよかったです。リアの配信また来てください。そしてリアのビリビリの方もよろしくお願いします。ごつりやありがとうみんな。はい、ごつりやんって言ってくれた方を読んでいこうと思います。あ、そう、today I 待って。歌わくします。お歌歌います。お歌の。お歌歌います。夜7時ぐらいからかな。7時singing stream やります。お昼ご飯食べよう。お昼ご飯食べるわ。ソーセージにする？歌は19時？ 19 時にしよっかな。昨日は19時って言ったっけ？Today I pray. I'm going to singing stream Detective Conan only 変わるかもって言ったらね、そうなんですよ。その後のファルコン9の打ち上げがなくなったので、今んとこの時間7時でお願いします。おつりやありがとう。おつりやでした。ありがとうございます。今作るか。What time? 7? 今作った。ありがとうございます。今後もね、リアの配信や、それからロケットいろいろ見に来てください。中国の方もたくさん見に来てくれてありがとうございました。シーシー。ロケットオブスペース、ボイツオーバー、斬新です。ありがとうございます。主食はカップ麺。リアもごつ盛り食べる。お昼ちゃんと食べてね。食べます。じゃあ、お名前呼んでいきますね。お疲れ様。リン言ってくれた方を呼んでいきます。おつりや、ありがとうジェリーちゃん。 レナちゃんありがとう。お疲れ様でした。MG パトラビンスキーちゃんありがとうございます。まだリクエスト大丈夫かな？大丈夫だよ。レナちゃんありがとうございます。お疲れ様でした。もぎちゃんお疲れ様ありがとう。お疲れ様ありがとう。どうちゃんお疲れ様ありがとう。鉄道好きちゃんありがとう。はてなちゃんお疲れ様ありがとう。頑張ろけっとありがとう。祝福おちゃんお釣り屋でした。ありがとう。てりちゃんお疲れ様です。ありがとうお釣り屋。Thank you for the stream, Otsulia. Alexander, thank you. Today's live begins about sorry, JST 19時からにします。なんかいっぱい歌いたくなっちゃってるので、なんかリクエストもいっぱい来てて、いっぱい来てるからいっぱい歌うわ。よし、ありがとうございました。グッドボタンありがとうございます。グッド144いった。ありがとう。グッド144、144。いいばい ?44。いいばい。スースー。いい、スースー。いいばい。スー。スー ?145。すごい。あ、待って。145?145?145? スー、いい。スー、いいじゃん、それ。ほら。スー、いい。スー、いい。Thank you, you are スー、いい like. ありがとうございます。後で動物探してみてね。あ、そうだった。ちゃんとキツネ探してきますね。ありがとうございました。ウサギとかキツネとかいるみたいだね。じゃあね、またね。バイバイ。146いった？めちゃくちゃ嬉しい。ありがとう。バイバイ。じゃあね、またね。次歌枠で会いましょうね、歌枠で。はい。じゃあね。バイバイ。薄いかわいい。Thank you。バイバイ。ラブリー、マイティワークスさん、バイバイ、ありがとう。てりちゃん、バイバイ、ありがとう。もげちゃん、また夜に、ありがとう。はてなちゃん、またとるた。またとってるた。バイバイ。ともかちゃんもお釣りありがとう。じゃあねー、しょ。
you